I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Generally, you said feminism is
neutral. Here's what actually happened.
The foundation of all knowledge.
I'm really mad that
what difference does it make, right? What
Stop.
The deregulation of the industry is obviously going to cause more of that industry.
And to lubricate the trust connection between people until they have enough.
Yet we could still look at biological reality in determining who's a female, even if there are.
Why don't you denounce feminism the same way that you're denouncing capitalism? If you don't...
For something to be objective, it needs to be verifiable. And you can't verify...
If I make a claim as a political pundit, it is true that I definitely could be wrong. You're promoting, right?
Ideology is the main tenet of politics, right? This is my ideology. So 2015, anyone go back and watch the footage. The first GOP debate.
Cool, Robert. Oh, dead? With a crowbar, you say?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. I am Sarah, the Raging Tomato, here bringing to you live a Moderator Monday on a Saturday evening. Yes, that's right. You heard it. We're all going to pretend it's Monday here. We all hate each other and the world, and we're going to have a debate about it. This evening, the statement is the U.S. should cut ties with Israel. With me, I have Alex Kirsch Project, Prime K's, Tyler, the average debate enjoyer, and Admiral Gibbs, of course. Alex, would you like to start with your opening statement, please?
Yes, first things first, Sarah, thank you so much for setting this up, and I want to thank everybody for participating tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, I rise tonight to make the case for cutting ties with Israel, and I do so for those who no longer have a voice. Take Hind Rajab, a 5-year-old girl in Gaza. Her family's car was riddled with over 300 bullets by Israeli forces. Panicked, she managed to call emergency services, whispering that tanks and soldiers were approaching. Moments later, she screamed and she was silenced forever. Or Rahil Rasras, age 32, who died of malnutrition at Nasser Hospital, weighing just 55 pounds, or Hussam al-Masri, a Reuters journalist, I say again, a journalist, was killed while helping evacuate patients from that same hospital after Israeli rockets struck it not once, but twice. These people were not Hamas. They were not combatants. They were a threat to nobody. They were human beings simply erased. Since October the 7th, Israel has unleashed a campaign that Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, Medicine Sans Frontiers, Save the Children, and even Israeli groups like B'Tselem have called a genocide. Doctors describe hospitals as hell on earth. While children are being shot while trying to get food at aid sites, aid workers have been obliterated by airstrikes. Starvation is being used as a weapon. And yet we continue to bankroll this. $3.8 billion every year in military aid to Israel. And to put that into perspective, we trade $253 billion with Germany, $217 billion with Japan, $118 billion with India, and $120 billion with Brazil. None of them get billions of weapons. But Israel, with only a $35 billion in trade, gets endless subsidies to drop bombs on civilians. That's not strategy. That's complicity. Now, I know what my opponents might say. They'll throw in some whataboutisms, Iraq, Afghanistan, maybe even Dresden, Germany during World War II. They might say war is hell. But last I checked, the United States condemns starvation. We don't fund it. They'll say we need Israel for intel against terrorists, but relying on Israel for counterterrorism is like paying a pyromaniac to be your firefighter. Their brutality doesn't make us safer. It fuels the very extremism they claim to fight. And finally, they might say cutting ties is anti-Semitic. Let's be clear. Anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. We do not oppose Israel because of Judaism. We oppose Israel because of its government's war crimes. True allies hold each other accountable. Blind loyalty to genocide is not friendship, it's betrayal of our values, of international law, and of humanity itself. So I ask you, what do we stand for as a nation? If we believe in human rights, in the rule of law, in justice, then we must say no more blank checks for bombs, no more red carpets for war criminals, and no more complicity. Cutting ties isn't abandonment. It's accountability. And accountability is the first step towards peace. Ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. And Prime to you, please. Don't forget to unmute.
Hello. So I'll keep my opening statement quite short and to the point. The U.S. should absolutely cut ties with Israel. Israel is a rogue state. Israel has proven itself to be an untrustworthy partner for like decades, beyond even the current conflict. They are a completely untrustworthy partner, and they inflame the region. So Israel makes the United States less safe. That goes against the conventional thinking here, right? At least the thinking that the establishment tries to push on to the people, that somehow Israel is some sort of bulwark against the dangerous savages. Honestly, savages is really what they mean when they're talking about our Arab friends. But no, Israel is the focal point of rage that you'll see within that region. And our support for it only makes us a target as well. So for that and a whole list of other reasons, not least of which, of course, is the genocide that's occurring, the U.S. should cut ties with Israel.
Perfect. Thank you, Prime. Tyler, to you.
Alrighty, the prompt here is, should the U.S. cut ties with Israel? And the answer is always and clearly, absolutely not. We're going to go into two breakdowns for my argument. First, reputational damage to the United States for keeping Israel an ally, and secondly, strategic advantage for keeping Israel an ally. So I think moving forward, we have the most technologically advanced nation pushing Western values more so than anyone that surrounds it. It's a no-brainer. But since this is still a debate, I guess that's too high of a bar to set. What we're going to see is you have to dozens of Arab nations are willing to come to the table if this new Trump deal happens that was just proposed. This new Trump deal to make Gaza great again is a shot in the foot to anybody that says we should pull away from Israel. It is going to stabilize the region more so than it's been stabilized in the last 200 years, long before Israel was incepted. So my first argument is going to be reputational damage to the United States. And here we're going to go through a lot of false claims like the famine in Gaza being caused by Israel, a genocide happening, occupation happening, murder, and all these things. We're going to go through and actually look at the facts of all these. We're going to look at how there's a massive double standard. That double standard is we need to take Hamas at face value. We need to quote their death tolls, even though they've been disproven multiple times. And everything Israel says is a lie because they've lied in the past. And it's just going to be a massive double standard that we're going to expose all night. If you're looking at both sides of the military conflict here, Israel is clearly the much more humane side. So Hamas backer and funder Iran, this is where we're going to start to move into strategy. Hamas backer and funder Iran, they have lied to us multiple times through the JCPOA. They were funding Hamas to the tunes of billions of dollars. They were paying martyr funds. They were killing our troops. They were kidnapping our people. And on top of that, they were aiding our worst enemies on the world stage, China and Russia. Number one import of energy to China comes from Iran. Number one weapons import to Russia comes from Iran. They are backing up the worst people on the world stage. If we abandon Israel, a nation 1/10 their size that destroyed them in a war, all we're doing is letting our adversaries get stronger. So we can point to the Abraham Accords now. Multiple nations, massive nations that have been calling for the death of Israel for almost its inception are now on board with trade, travel, regulating together, and many more are willing to come to the table if this Trump deal goes through and Israel leaves the nation. Saudi Arabia has been vocal about that. So we can talk about all that. We can talk about Trump's 20-point plan, but what I gather we're going to run into tonight is we're going to be debunking a lot of propaganda. So with the famine in particular, we see Hamas, it's been documented. Hamas steals hundreds of trucks of aid. They're hoarding it in multiple warehouses. We've seen what happens when Gazans break into that warehouse. They're executed on the street. It's all on video. we see that they take these goods that they steal from the international community, the UN, dropping them off, and they resell them. They're reselling them right now 100 times the rate of what they cost prior to the war. This is how a flour crisis happened. And guess what? It was default blamed on Israel, spread around for 2 weeks. It was Israel's fault that there wasn't flour. And then an investigation was done, and we found out it was Hamas overcharging their people by 120 times the rate of what flour normally costs in order to fund the war. So we're going to go through stuff like that. We're going to go through the 12 kids that we're claiming were all malnourished and being posted all over the internet, and how that was debunked because all of them were actually had sicknesses that made their bones pop out. And in most of the pictures, you can see their healthy families standing right next to them, fully fed and nourished. So it just, all of it is just complete propaganda. And when you hold both sides to the same standard, Israel clearly comes out as the good guys.
Perfect. Thank you, Tyler. And Gibbs, to you, please.
All right, just give me 1 second. All right. Good evening, my fellow Americans. First, thank you, Sarah, for having me on again. As for the topic tonight, many of you may know me, some may not. So without further ado, my name is Justin Admiral Gibbs. You can find me on every platform as Admiral Gibbs. One thing that I'm sure my opponents will bring up is that despite the fact that I am a patriot, I only care about what's best for me. Before we begin, I think it's important to clarify that neither myself nor my partner have ever been given any Jew gold. No one is paying us for our opinions. We truly only want what's best for the United States. The prompt is the U.S. should cut ties with Israel. As my partner has clearly laid out, the answer is a resounding no for a plethora of reasons. Some of these include Israel being our client state, technology, real-time experience, weakening of the axis of evil, liberal democracy, historical and religious reasons. Israel, for all intents and purposes, is our client state and one of only a few reliable partners in the region. They are a reliable economic partner and one of the largest producers of semiconductors outside of Taiwan. They consistently back us when we put forth resolutions to the UN and back us in condemning our adversarial powers. Which brings me to my next point. As I stated earlier, I am a patriot. Iran is part of the current axis of evil. Along with North Korea, they're the biggest state sponsors of terrorism globally. They fund and support groups directly with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, politically and strategically, as well as more tangibly with munitions, such as rockets and other munitions. Hamas is one of those groups. Hamas has no problem launching rockets from the roofs of schools, hospitals, and other apartment buildings. While Israel warns people to leave before they bomb buildings in order to reduce casualties and only destroy the infrastructure. Israel is also tied to our military-industrial complex. If you're an American, then you should be happy that Israel is our ally. Israel is one of the biggest buyers of our weaponry and even have their own variants of our weapons platforms. This is an economic boon as well as a benefit for our technological advancements in regards to national security as well as real-time experience fighting our enemies. I won't go into the specific technical names unless necessary and pressed by my opponents, and I have the sources with their actual technical names, but I'm going to refer to two platforms as I for Israeli variant going forward. The F-35I and the F-15I both have been built for specific missions with modern tech that have been tested in proxy wars repeatedly. Not only that, the current proposed Golden Dome is being based off the highly successful Iron Dome that we assisted Israel in building. America is safer from rockets due to the fact these evil countries keep trying to fire rockets at Israel and wipe the Jews out. And they have built one of the most prolific missile defense systems of all time, and they keep improving it. This experience has been invaluable to the United States. We have been able to see our upgraded platforms tested in real-time combat situations against our client states, against near-peer adversaries. Israel is also one of the only liberal democracies in the region. They accept most people into their country, allow them to become full citizens. The ethno-state claims are highly exaggerated. And even if they were true, how come the libs and lefties, like our opponents, always point to other racist ethno-states like the Nordic countries as ideal socialist models? The Hamas, the despicable terrorist organization, hates the LGBTQ community and has been known to stone gay men and women to death and throw them off buildings. Their backer, Iran, forces gay men to transition or chemically castrates them. If you're pro-LGBTQ, you can't be pro-Palestine, despite what many would have you believe. Right after Hamas is done committing the biggest Jewish genocide since the Holocaust, if they succeed, they will turn right around and wipe out the LGBTQ community. Why do my opponents here hate the LGBTQ community? That's what I want to know. Why do these people want these people murdered? Also, the Palestinians have no historical claim. The earliest people we can trace back to are the descendants of the Phoenicians, aka the Sea people from ancient records, who came in and wiped out the original inhabitants. But we're in turn conquered by the Israelites. As for the religious aspect, if you're a Christian, and I know many of you in the audience are, the Bible is quite clear about what happens to countries that oppose God's chosen people, the Jews. Israel is a Jewish nation. Our opponents will try to argue that they are against Zionism but are okay with Judaism. This is a perfidious and duplicitous deception to cover their hate of religion and their hate of the Jews, and by extension, their desire to weaken the great United States in order to implement a national socialist, a democratic socialist system. Don't let the leftists and Sharia law-loving Muslims convince you to abandon Israel. It's just the first step towards either a theocracy or something akin to a national socialist government. So I did it again. Democratic socialist government. Finally, the most American of reasons, we love Israel. Israel fucking wins wars. Why would we ever want to team up with a bunch of ignorant, women-hating camel herders who chant death to America every chance we get? God bless America. God bless Israel. Now into my opponent's cases. They didn't put forth anything of substance. As Tyler is going to get into, they put forth several examples of these people saying these kids were dying and then all sorts of other things. And then we find out later they're not dead. They come forward all the time. We know that they played duplicitous games with how they describe casualties. We know all these things. Hamas is a liar. Why would we trust terrorists? Why would we trust people that are backed by groups that chant death to America? I don't know. Maybe our opponents can enlighten us, but I doubt it.
Thank you, Gibbs. And as a kind reminder to our audience, we are going to get through the debate. We will move into closing statements. And then, of course, we will read and respond to your kind super chats. And, of course, your favorite portion. After that, we will move into open panel dumpster fire. So if you have something to say to any of the panelists, we will move into that portion a little later, and you'll be able to come on and tell them how you feel. Gentlemen, I leave the floor open to you.
I'm kind of curious. Do you guys think that there's a genocide going on in Gaza or in Palestine right now?
No.
Why not?
There is it's a gay genocide.
Why do you think it's not a genocide?
Well, genocide, unless you use a very broad definition of the term, expand it far past what the term actually means. Going off of Israel's numbers, only 2% of the nation has died in over 2 years of combat. Israel has been relocating millions of people all over to avoid combat. Hamas hasn't done that. They haven't relocated a single person. They actually threaten them with violence and tell them to stay in combat zones. So Israel has taken multiple actions. On top of that, the GHF was feeding up to 2 billion meals a day to a million people, and then relying on the UN and to get the rest. So all this was going on. It can't be a genocide if they're feeding them, providing them water, providing them electricity, providing them shelter, and keeping them out of harm's way of combat while their own government is seeking to see them dead.
Okay, so first things first, since you said a lot right there, I just want to make one thing clear. Genocide doesn't mean wiping out an entire population. It's talking about targeting an entire group of people for elimination, to exterminate them, essentially. And just because you move people, we have to remember something. Israel told people to go to Rafah. You know what they did afterwards? They bombed Rafah. They
moved
killed
people
people
out of Rafah before that too, though. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but no, that's fine. They killed people in Rafah, and let alone the fact that they've been very clear that they are not just killing these people. They're also ethnically cleansing, which means moving them from their houses and then occupying that land. That's ethnic cleansing. And I'm just kind of curious, like, how is it you can say that this is not a genocide where pretty much every human rights organization I listed has stated that this is 100% a genocide? Are you saying that you're correct and they are wrong?
Because most of the
before you answer, Tyler, let me just ask you a question, if you don't mind. So you're against ethnic cleansing. What does it say in the Hamas charter about from the river to the sea and the wiping out of the Jews? Is that ethnic cleansing, or is that just outright Holocaust?
Well, I don't support Hamas, so your point is completely flat.
Well, is Hamas the leaders of the Palestinian groups that live in that area right now?
And I don't support Hamas. I'm talking about the people of Palestine.
Who are you supporting? Because the people of Palestine seem to support them, and that's their ruling government.
They don't all support Hamas.
They're interchangeable, aren't they? Are they not?
Hamas is still the most popular movement inside both the West Bank and Gaza.
So, you actually don't give a shit about ethnic cleansing. It's just you don't like the Jews. Got it. All right, go ahead, Tyler.
That's actually that's actually completely slanderous, and honestly, that's not a true argument.
No, it's a factual statement based on.
It's not a fact. Okay, sir, you need to understand something. There are Jews that are completely against the genocide. Are they anti-Semitic too?
Yeah, I mean, there are also Jews that were pro the genocide back in World War II. What does that have to do with anything?
No, those were Zionists, sir. There's a difference, actually.
Oh, I knew this was going to happen. That's why I said that in my opening. These guys are going to try to convince you it's Zionism and not Judaism that they don't like, but it's really Judaism that they hate. I got it.
Sure, it's based on history. It's based on history. Go ahead, Tyler.
Okay, so the ethnic cleansing claim, the plan that Israel agreed to, the Trump plan, says that nobody is being forced to leave the area. 1, and 2, Israel will not be an occupying force. They will completely leave Gaza after a certain point, and it'll be managed by a technocrat Arab state nation with the U.S. having a big seat at the table as well. So there's no ethnic cleansing going on. That claim that this is what Israel agreed to end the war is completely out the window, and they're getting all that land back. In fact, we're going to invest into it and rebuild it for them, not costing them anything, because the Palestinians that are there, as long as they lay down their arms and say they're not going to attack Israel anymore, are no longer a threat to Israel.
So I'm just kind of curious. You're saying that, like, we're just going to remove these people from their land. And I remember you actually mentioned this in a panel on Gibbs's panel of all things for 3 years, basically. How much is that going to cost exactly?
I don't know. The plan seems to be Trump wants to relocate, but he was talking earlier about relocating him temporarily in a different country and then letting him come back, but that doesn't seem to jive with the Arab nations. So what they're looking at right now is like they're doing when they went into Gaza City initially, they moved everybody to Rafah. Then they went into Rafah and moved 800,000 people out of Rafah before they bombed it. And then they moved them recently just out of Gaza City again. They've moved about 900,000 people, I think the count was yesterday, out of Gaza City back to the south where there's no more Hamas bases for them to bomb, and they're going to go into the main center of Hamas right now that's in Gaza City, something they've been avoiding. If you look at the way that it's the line is right now, there's a little hump around Gaza City. That's Hamas's stronghold where the hostages are being held that they've been avoiding.
So
anyway, I thought it ludicrous that you're sitting here arguing that they don't support Hamas after we saw October 7th, where they were, parading women they had raped to death and killed, and all these other people. They're literally all the cities. They look like the scene out of Star Wars: The End of Return of the Jedi, where they're sitting here celebrating, having parties, dancing. Even when they returned some of the hostages looking ragged and beaten down, these people were celebrating and spitting on them and throwing stuff on them. Like, this is a group of people that have been supporting Hamas the whole time. They're one and the same, and even Hamas thinks they're one and the same. When they report casualties, they don't classify them as separate from war deaths or casualties of Hamas. They just classify everybody as a civilian. So even Hamas thinks they're one and the same. So you're arguing with what the Palestinians elected and put in power, and then you're arguing with Hamas and the Palestinians for what they classify as Palestine. So everything you're saying is not based in fact, Alex Kirsch, and I'm saying everything is factual based off their own reporting.
Actually, no, it's based upon reporting. The reporting I actually gave was based upon human rights organizations, especially Israeli organizations. Are you telling me that they're wrong?
I'm ready to get to those because one of them, Amnesty International in particular, is just one of the biggest ones claiming, first off, all of their claims were investigated by the Joe Biden administration in 2024. They found zero proof that there was actually anything concerning a war crime going on. They found no evidence of it, though they found the concerns concerning. But that being said, the Israeli wing of Amnesty International came out afterwards and after an internal review and said that a lot of their claims were not verified in fact, and some of them actually were pressing up against violating laws of defamation. The same thing happened with Amnesty International when they did some attacks on Ukraine, I think in 2022. They said something, they basically used Russian propaganda against Ukraine, and there was an internal review on Amnesty International, and a bunch of people got fired. It seems like Amnesty International and a lot of these aid groups are bought out by that Qatar money, which puts it about 20 times to the U.S. cycles what Israel puts in every year, and APAC, which is a U.S.-based firm as well.
Well, here's what I'm not understanding, though. What I'm hearing from both you and Gibbs is that for some reason, like if Hamas reports the numbers, they're complete bullshit. But for some reason, when Israel reports the internal investigations, those numbers are verified. It seems like you want to have them both ways. What's going on there?
Well, I would say that Israel hasn't been falsified on this specific topic enough for me to doubt their numbers. I got 10 examples of the Gaza Health Ministry flat out making things up. The Al-Shifa Hospital, the Witkoff massacre, all these things have been debunked after further investigation, or at least if it happened in this war, it hasn't been fully investigated yet, but there's enough evidence to conclusively say that Israel is providing a bunch more information. Witkoff massacre, we have 2 anonymous sources that talk to doctors versus 4 drone videos. So I would go with the videos over 2 anonymous sources that we don't even know the names of. So,
well, what about the Nassif hospital that I actually brought up earlier, where they hit it not once but twice? I mean, these guys were not a threat to anybody. That's considered a war crime, sir.
I would have to look into that, but from what I have seen, every hospital that Israel has hit, they can show through satellite imagery and through tunnel mapping that they not only had bunkers and bases underneath them, but they were also linked to the mass tunnel system in Brun. There's an article I have in my citations of a children's hospital that was being used. The basement of it was hooked to the tunnel system, and it was being used to store weapons and rockets. If one of those rockets had just exploded, it would have killed all those kids above. And that's what they would use it for. It's been documented for years. They dug up their own water pipes, turned them into missiles. They were given giant hydroponic beds when Israel was forced to withdraw all the Jews out of that area when they gave it to them after Oslo. They tore up water pipes to turn into bombs again and tore up this giant hydroponic bed that could have provided food for their entire Gaza.
Okay, so first things first, sir, none of that is true when it comes to talk about the Nassif hospital, actually, because even Israel came out and says, oh, that was a mistake. We were not supposed to hit that hospital, but they didn't hit once. They hit it twice. So I fail to see like how there's tunnels and they say, oh, yeah, we did it on purpose. But then they say, oh, no, that was a complete accident. I'd like you to tell me, how is that possible? Because there was video footage of them actually evacuating people that were not a threat whatsoever. They were not an ongoing threat to the Israeli military whatsoever, and they still hit it not once but twice. Israel tried to say it was a mistake. These guys were aid workers and journalists. This is a war crime. Do you deny this?
Are you actually trying to sit here with a straight face and pretend that, okay, you might be able to find one example where Hamas was able to bamboozle people, but are you actually with a straight face trying to sit here and lie and tell us that Hamas isn't using people for human shields? We know for a fact one of these journalists you just mentioned was one of the people that was holding a hostage for Hamas. Yeah, we do know that. It's been verified several times.
What was the name of the journalist again?
I don't have it in front of me. I'm sure we can find it.
Of course you don't. That's convenient.
Listen, it's convenient. Yeah, listen, I'm not going to sit here and play Google games, but like we can find it in a second. I'm not a big deal. But we already know that's one of the things. We know these people have used civilians to hold their hostages for a while. It's been a well-known established fact. We know they've shot rockets from the top of schools. We know they've used hospitals as military bases. We know they dug up the water system for and power plant systems to make rockets. This is like not even a debate. We know they flew in and attacked the civilian festival on October 7th. That's not it for a debate. And then we know they celebrate and drag these bodies through the streets. And you're sitting here going, oh, that's a war crime. You know what's a war crime? Attacking a music festival. That's a war crime. And then now they're sitting here having to suffer the consequences because their elected government is taking an ass beating. I'm sorry. I'm not sympathetic for that.
Well, here's the let me clarify something real quick. So first things first, I denounced what happened on October 7th. It was definitely a war crime. Pretty much everybody across the country, across the world, even people that support Palestine say what happened on October 7th was a war crime. So first things first, I'm actually very consistent about this. And second, I want to bring up another point, and Prime, I promise I'll let you get in here as well. So it's so funny how like Gibbs talks about, oh, well, why would we support people that are against the LGBTQ plus community? It's kind of a fair point. It's interesting you bring that up because we're actually allied with a lot of other countries that are anti-LGBTQ plus, like for example, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, United Arab Emirates. So does this mean that we're suddenly going to start, bombing them or something like that? And look, we need to understand something, though. Human rights aren't exactly a menu item. You don't get to excuse a genocide because one side scores better on LGBTQ plus stuff. And we're simply talking about the fact that if you're upset, oh, I'm not going to side with people in Palestine because they're anti-LGBTQ plus, which you, of course, I don't know how you feel about the community. But the thing is, we're allied with other countries that also have horrendous LGBTQ plus violations, basically. So I don't know where you fall on that spectrum.
Well, I just want a quick point of clarification. I have two sources right here. One's the New York Times, known for being extremely conservative, according to, Schumer. I'll send it to Sarah if she wants to look at it. I have another one from CNN. Both of them are sitting here citing that it was a journalist that was sitting here hiding 3 Israeli hostages in their family home, and they were rescued by Israeli forces. Both and the hostages themselves testified to that, as well as the Israeli government. So yeah, it sounds like you're wrong or you're lying.
And but here's the thing: the journalist I brought up was not involved in that whatsoever. He was a Reuters journalist.
How convenient! It's real convenient.
I gave him a name
you brought up, but when I could actually name the specific journalist,
I did name a specific journalist.
To be able to pronounce his name.
That's the difference between you and me, though. I
will name it. His name is Abdullah Al-Jamal, right? A Palestinian journalist and Hamas operative who also moonlighted for Al Jazeera as well. He hid 3 hostages in his family home, and you were just saying, "Oh, these people are all journalists." No, this is exactly my point. Where Hamas is using civilian workers and civilians to sit here as human shields. That's what they're doing. They're despicable people. It's evil, and this is their elected government doing this.
Was Hossam al-Masri a Hamas operative, sir?
Abdullah al-Jamal was the guy that I'm talking about.
Him.
I don't give a shit about what you're talking about. I'm talking about the journalist. Yeah, because you're sitting here being dishonest. You're pointing to one journalist who didn't do this, and I'm pointing to a journalist that is a Hamas operative. That's one of the ones I'm talking about. And you're sitting here going, well, X didn't do this, so we should ignore Y. That's ridiculous. Like, are you kidding me? If I'm sitting here working for, like, I don't know, let's say I'm working for the Klan. And I work for the Klan, and I'm a journalist, and I don't know, Tyler works for the Klan, and he actually kills 3 people, but I don't do it. And all the Klan members go, oh, Gibbs didn't do any of this, so we should all just stop looking at journalists working for the Klan. Do you see how stupid that fucking sounds?
I see how the whole entire hypothetical scenario has nothing to do with this debate anyway. So, Prime, go ahead. Well,
if you can't see how that hypothetical scenario has anything to do with this debate, then goddamn, you got 2 brain cells and they're both gasping for air.
Cope and seeds, sir. Go ahead, Prime.
Yeah, I'm coping and seething. Okay, yeah, that's me.
Before we move on, can I address your hospital question first? So I just looked it up. The IDF hit the hospital 2 times in August. Both times they said it was an intended target. What they apologized for were the 19 casualties that resulted. But they'd already raided that hospital twice previously. Once in February, the first raid, they found hundreds of Hamas inside of it and connections to the tunnels. So that hospital was being used as a military staging ground.
So again, why did they apologize if it was an intended target, though?
Because they killed 19 people. So they apologized to those 19 people and their families. And they killed the 19 civilians that were not the intended target.
Okay, so apologized is that, but it's still considered a war crime. Would you agree it's a war crime, sir?
No, if they're using it as military staging ground, they lost that right.
That doesn't make any sense. Why would you apologize for something that you did? That doesn't make any sense.
The war crime laws say is that if you use public infrastructure as a military staging ground, it becomes a viable target.
So that basically means any target, like, for example, if, let's say, Hamas decides to launch a target and it's nearby, like where IDF might be used, would you say that was considered a legitimate target then, even if civilians get killed?
It depends on what they're shooting at. Like there's complexities to the war. So if you're shooting at an administrative building that's in a civilian area, no, that's a war crime. But if you're shooting at a bunker or like a barracks or something like that, those generally have to be isolated.
A barracks, yes. A military structure, yes.
This is all written into the laws around war crimes, how far something has to be away from civilian to be a viable military staging ground and such. So it's all taken care of if you want to.
But sir, we need to be clear about something though. These guys were not a threat to anybody when they were hit. That's one thing I'm trying to make abundantly clear. They were evacuating people that were wounded out of that scenario. Were they a threat at that time? Yes or no?
Probably not. It doesn't matter if they're a threat at that time.
It does matter.
Are they a threat in the future?
Yeah, were they a threat in the past and they wanted terrorists?
If I look into a crystal ball,
hey, this guy murdered 6 people, but hey, don't worry about him now because he threw his gun in the trash.
We have no proof if they murdered. Well, it's funny how like you say, well, we don't know if they're going to murder people in the future, so let's just go ahead and kill them now. That's not you don't do stuff like that.
You know what's a good example of this? The guy that they let loose like 20 times or 16 times, then he slit the girl's throat on the
that has nothing to do with this debate.
That's the exact same example. Hey, he's not a threat right now. He'll be fine. We'll just give him a letter.
First things first.
This is the kind of logic you're using.
That's a complete deflection away from this topic. Save deflection for the United States Field Artillery, sir. It doesn't suit you, okay? Go ahead, Prime.
I wanted to give Prime the opportunity to jump in. He's been pretty quiet.
I'm known for being quiet in debates, not making a splash. Gibbs will tell you that. Yeah. So I don't care about any of this. Like none of it. I don't care about any of this at all. So the focus of this conversation, as I understood it, was all the reasons why the United States should cut off ties with Israel. And that's where I'm going to keep my focus. I wildly disagree with things that Tyler and Admiral Gibbs are saying. I know they have no evidence to back up the things they've been saying. But rather than focusing on this, right? Like I'd like to focus on, why should we separate ourselves from Israel? Well, Israel, as I said in my opening statement, is a not firebrand. It throws gasoline into the fire that is the Middle East, right? Israel is a target of aggression. Why? Because they're looked at as invaders. And the front, right? The front of Western imperialism. And I mean, the idea goes back centuries, ever since the Crusades. right? Like that you would have some sort of Western outpost in these Muslim lands for, well, in this case, not Christendom, but to promote and secure the interests of the bigger powers, before just simply European powers, but now mostly American interests. This makes the world more dangerous for Americans. That's my concern, right? My friend Gibbs pretends to be MAGA, but seems to be MEGA, right? Seems to be make Israel great always, right? And above America. For when our friend Gibbs brings up the chants, right? The Death to America chants. Well, a lot of those chants specifically are about America's support for Israel. Now, this is different when we're talking about like the administrations of these regimes compared to the people, right? So the administrations, right? The kings, the prime ministers, the presidents in the region, they have differing opinions, and those are buffeted by global trends and their own economic interests. And so you have so many of them signing on to the Abraham Accords, right? Who were willing to tie themselves to Israel. Those individuals were doing that, those regimes, because there were significant economic benefits to do so, right? It brings them closer to America. It ties them to in a positive way to a nuclear power within the region. That'd be Israel, right? They had a whole list of reasons as to why they would do that, but one of the reasons wasn't, right, selling the Palestinian question. That was ignored. And because of that, well, October 7th happened. That was in response to those nations seemingly abandoning the Palestinian cause. Now, again, the people didn't abandon them. The people stood with them. And the people, uphold their populations, want change, intervention, something from their leaders, but they're ignored. Something that we can understand here in the States. And though people don't want to discuss this, right? Osama bin Laden, 9/11 attacks, right? He releases a letter to the American people, which was printed in The Guardian. And part of those reasonings why was because of America's involvement with Israel. It wasn't the only reason. It's just one of the reasons. Now, I am not saying that we follow the demands of a terrorist. No, fuck him and fuck his supporters. But this is just an example. Osama bin Laden was the one who was able to reach out and touch America and ended up with dead Americans. What does Israel give us? Israel gives us nothing. Israel gives us only headaches. Israel gives us a bill, right? As they demand more weapons, more money from us, more protection, always. Israel gives us commands when it wants us to go fight a war for itself. So that's why I'm going to, that'll be my focus of the conversation for me. So if people want to respond to that, I'll continue on later.
I do want to make a quick response. I know Tyler is going to want to. See, yeah, this is a lie. This is a perfidious deception that the left is doing here when they say that if we just left these nations in the Middle East alone, they wouldn't do anything. Let's go back. Let's do a little history lesson. I don't know if y'all like history, but I fucking love history, right? I got a minor in it. I'm a big fan. We look to our founding fathers and all this good jazz. Let's look to one of our founding fathers. Thomas Jefferson asked the ambassador of Tripoli before we went and whooped their ass. I don't know if you know the Marine Corps fight song, but from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. When he asked the ambassador of Tripoli, who was a Muslim nation at the time, he asked them, "Why are you attacking our ships and enslaving our people?" And the ambassador told Thomas Jefferson and John Adams that the enslaving American slavers was justified by religious law. And they expanded this to merchants. So no, just leaving these countries alone doesn't mean that they're going to just not hate us. They hate us because we're not Muslim. We're infidels to them. They hate us. That's what they do. When they come over here, they practice taqiyya or whatever it is, where they lie in order to establish Muslim sanctuaries, and then they establish those and they expand on those and then try to implement Sharia law or get politicians elected that are going to push more Muslim-focused policies. We've seen this happen. We're already seeing it in Michigan. We're seeing this happen in New York. We're seeing this happen all over the place. We've seen it happen overseas. We're seeing it in real time in the UK. So what Prime is saying is not historically accurate. We know for a fact that they hate us because we're infidels, right? It's not because we support Israel. And in fact, at least the Jews, if y'all are going to sit here and go, oh, the Jews are evil, and the Jews are sending us all this money, at least we can work with them because they're a merchant group and they recognize money, as opposed to some religious fundamentalist bullshit where they're going to kill all the infidel that doesn't agree with them. The Jews aren't talking about killing all the infidel. They just want to have their homeland safe. But you know what groups are? The Arabs. They are sitting here saying they want to kill death to America, and it's not what Prime said. And we can look back all the way to 1786 for that proof.
So I would hold on, before we go there, I'd like to respond. I never said Jews are evil. So definitely don't put that in my mouth. I have nothing but respect for my Jewish brothers and sisters around the world and the Jewish tradition. Well, I respect the Jewish tradition as much as I respect any particular religious tradition, which is really not at all. But still, I treat it no differently from any other. I treat it no different from any other, right? Christendom or Islam or whatever, right? So it seems quite odd, right? So you're saying, Gibbs, buddy, right? Mm-hmm. You're saying that the individuals, right, like and the nations within that region are religious fanatics, being the Arabs, right? Are religious fanatics expresses themselves through their politics, through their foreign policy. And that is bad, which is why instead we should team up with Israel. Israel, who says that they were gifted this land. This land is destined to them because of some statements and a religious text, right? Israel, which is backed by in America, right, mostly by American evangelicals. Reason being an apocalyptic prophecy saying that if we gather the Muslims and we gather the Jews in one area, right, and they start a bit of a war, it'll wipe both sides out, and then our prophet will come back, right? Yeah. So religious fanaticism appears on both sides of this aisle, both sides of the world here. In this topic. So let's not pretend like we're any different, right? Yes, you'll find religious fanatics on the Islamic side. Absolutely. Yes,
but
you will.
But it's not a fanatic,
right?
Prime. It's a mainline Islamic position to like implement taqiyya.
It's a mainline American position.
Well, yeah, sure. Right? I mean, if we want to talk about mainline American position, I agree. I agree. Manifest Destiny was based as fuck. We had a God-given right to conquer the rest of the United States. I like all these states being ours. That's cool. I agree. You're absolutely right. God gave us the right to be the fucking big swinging dicks of the world. I'm a big fan of that.
I'm not arguing. Thanks. I'm not arguing whether like the religious interpretation is correct or not, right? I don't care. I mean, like it does. Of course, it's not. But it's not worth my time to go over that. I'm simply stating that the religious fanaticism isn't a one-sided scenario, right? We understand this happens on both sides, right?
There's a difference.
It animates both sides.
Yeah, but one is an apostolizing religion, right? That's the Islam, right? They go and they preach the word and they try to convert, and if you don't convert, they force you to either pay a tax, or they sit here, subvert your government, or they sit here and try to take over your country, or they try to kill you, or like the gays. This is all the things we know they do. This is a thing they preach in their mosques. This is the thing that's in the Quran. I could point to specific portions of the Quran that say these things. It's not a question. Versus the Jews, they don't really apostolize. It's very hard to become a Jew if you're not already a Jew or from a Jewish family. This is a totally different situation. They want their one little state and they want to be left alone. And all the Arab countries keep attacking them. Yeah.
Gibbs. One.
Just said it was that's pretty small, right?
It's actually the state of Israel.
How much land mass do you think?
Hold I'll respond to you. One, Israel, yes, is about the state of New Jersey. At least that's what I've heard, right? And I believe that, right? But there's a greater Israel project. Israel wants to expand beyond its borders. I mean, that's what it's been doing with Palestine this entire time, and it wants to go into its neighboring countries, right? Lebanon being a big target, Syria being another target. Greater Israel is part of the plan, and this is not a secret. So let's push that aside, right?
I hope they do that.
But beyond, of course you do, right? But I'm not, of course. I'd be foolish to appeal to your sense of morality. So I'm not going to. But like, yes, as far as I know, Judaism doesn't like try to convert individuals, right? But as I was saying previously, it is the front, right? The Western front within the Middle East. It is a puppet state, let's say puppet state, I don't know, a client state, yes, client state of Western powers. And those Western powers tend to be Christian, or at least run by Christian authorities. And those, and Christianity, as hopefully you won't disagree, has no problem converting people by violence. A long history of converting individuals by violence. And so let's not pretend that Islam is some sort of unique, pernicious threat, right? It's not, right? It's simply another ideology, another reasoning that gives people some sort of ideological backing to their actions within the region. No different from anything else, right? But again, right, that's not the focus of this conversation. The focus of this conversation is why the United States should cut off ties with Israel. And I'm sure Tyler wants to speak, so I'll give him an opening here. And the reason is, at least the first reason that I'm putting forward here is, yes, because it inflames that region. They look at the Israel population as invaders, right? As part of a new crusade campaign, and they've got plenty of reasons to think that. But yeah, I'm sure Tyler wants to say something.
All right, Alex, first, could you check the private chat? I wanted to get those two names you brought up and make sure I address every point you got, because I don't have those in my notes, actually. For once, somebody over-prepped more than me on something. So, Prime. You started out by saying that you didn't care about maybe the first 45 minutes of what we were talking about. But unfortunately, in your open, you did mention ethnic cleansing, genocide, and I'm pretty sure you've mentioned occupation since then. And these are the things I'm directly disputing by showing you Israel's feeding people, relocating them out of harm's way, signed on to a deal where they're not going to be taking over that land at all. They're not going to have any say over it. It's going to be Arab nation. So all these claims of genocide, ethnic cleansing, wanting to occupy that land and take it over, Israel has already agreed to a deal that none of those things are going to happen. So at this point, those have been disproven in my mind based on what Israel is saying they want to do to conclude the war. It's going to be ruled by Arab state technocrats. Saudi Arabia is taking a leadership role in Gaza over, and they're pushing Israel out. And that's also the criteria for multiple nations to join the Israel Accords. If Israel leaves Gaza, the Abraham Accords. If Israel leaves Gaza, all these nations say they will sign on to the Abraham Accords as well. They want the war over as well. So I'm saying you don't care about it. I mean, I have almost 200 links in my citation document backing up all these things I'm saying. Alex hit me with a couple I wasn't expecting, so I'll get to those shortly. But if the foreign strategy, the foreign policy aspect of this, I'm the only one that's brought up why Israel is a positive or negative to the United States, and it's that we are stopping Iran, who is one of the major backers of China and Russia. They're helping them fight Ukraine right now by selling them drones, selling them drone technology. The number 1 and 2 drones used by Russia in the war with Ukraine since it started come from Iran. Now, they're building them locally. About 80% have been built in Russia, but they're still sending chips up. They're still sending parts up. Russia's just manufacturing them there because they can get them to the front faster. So those are good reasons. But also, like, if you made the point that the UAE and all these other nations signed on to the Abraham Accords because it was good for them. They made money off of it. They got rich off of it. But then you're saying it's not profitable for us to do anything with Israel. You're saying that you said at one point the UAE signed on because it was better for them economically. They made a bunch of money and they were closer to the U.S. That's what you said.
I didn't bring up the UAE. I didn't say it wasn't profitable for us. I
You
didn't
said
say
they
any
made
of
a
that.
bunch. Well, you said they made a bunch of money. I'm just saying, if it's profitable for them to work with Israel, to have relations with Israel, why isn't it not profitable for us?
I didn't say that, but I didn't say that.
Okay, well, I'll move on to the next point. My bad. I might have misunderstood you then. So, Israel was granted. You say Israel took this land because of religious doctrine. What actually happened is Israel was granted this land. There was a shared land promise that was given to them. What happened after that is about 2 years of terror attacks against the Jews from the Palestinians. So the UN passed a resolution to give Israel about 60% of that contested land and give Gazans about 40% of it. Israel accepted and began to move forward with what the UN set out. The Gazans instead protested, rioted, and then 5 nations attacked Israel. So the response from one side from the UN's resolution was, okay, we'll just go build our own thing. And the other side was, they all need to die. So I would say Israel has really a pretty good claim to that land because of what happened under the UN and these nations that keep attacking them. In the deal that Trump's proposing, Israel would back out of most of the land they've taken in the Gaza war here and also give them back land from previous wars that they won when Arab nations attacked Israel, which happens every single time Israel is attacked. In this instance, 6 nations coordinated behind Iran, funded by Qatar, funded by Iran, coordinated 6 proxy states, not nations. Only 2 of them were Lebanon and Iraq, I think. But all attacked Israel at one time in order to wipe it out. Gaza was just one. Lebanon, the very next day, was firing rockets at the top 20% of Israel, forced them to evacuate their entire population, all while breaking a UN treaty, while the UN was standing there watching them. The only time the UN spoke up was when Israel started bombing them back while they were at the Litani River, a 19-mile strip between Israel and Lebanon. It's supposed to be a peace zone. Hezbollah was in there shooting rockets. Israel went in, shot back. The UN said, "You're shooting at us. How can you shoot at us?" While they're standing there watching Hezbollah violate this peace deal. So it's completely one-sided. All these foreign bodies that oversee this shit are completely biased. We can go through the UN as well, because we already started with Amnesty International and the investigation completely debunking their claims of war crimes and genocide. But last point I got for Gibbs here, when you were bringing up your different nations, France actually sat out of the war on terror, if I'm not mistaken. We had to change the name from French fries to freedom fries. We threw out French as mustard. If that's the case, if they didn't actually intervene in the Middle East, why are they so riddled with terror attacks right now too? So it kind of just completely throws out the window the idea that they're only attacking us because we're involved in their countries, because France wasn't. So
I'd like to step in if I can get a chance. So first things first, to address all the points that Gibbs make, dude, there was somewhat straw man in there. I'm afraid that's just going to spontaneously combust, because at no point did Prime and I ever say anything negative about the Jewish people. We were very abundantly clear about that, but instead you're just going for the throat punch, which is completely unfounded. So one thing I would like to ask you and Tyler, though, okay, what actually constitutes something as a genocide in accordance to Article 2 of the United Nations or the Geneva Conventions?
I'm sorry, what was it again?
What would you say constitutes a genocide in accordance with Article 2 of the Geneva Conventions? What would you say constitutes that?
I would just use your definition from earlier, the targeted attack to attempt to wipe out or ethnically cleanse a mass group of people.
Well, ethnically cleanse and genocide are 2 different terms, but ethnically cleanse basically means to remove people from one location and basically take their land. So I'm talking about genocide specifically because this is very, very important, actually. So, I mean, I'm not asking for a full-on definition, but what do you think would classify something as a genocide, essentially?
Like it's more about the intent to wipe out an entire group of people based on their immutable characteristics or religion.
Well, the entire population doesn't have to be wiped out and for it to be considered genocide.
Yeah,
I mean,
just an attempt to.
Well, the attempt, yes. I mean, would you say the Bosnian Serbian genocide, would you say that's a genocide?
I don't know enough about every world genocide to answer that. I prefer Israel.
Okay, that's completely fair. Okay, I'll give you a good example. This is relevant to the topic of discussion because you had General Radko Mladic, who literally went into a town. I can't pronounce it because I'm really, really terrible at pronouncing names like that. But he literally lined up entire people, military age males from 12 to 77, and he executed all of them. That was considered a genocide. There are similar things going on like that. If the UN and the Geneva Conventions considers that a genocide, and they call this a genocide as well, like, how is it that they could be possibly wrong about this? I mean, this is what I don't understand. And one more thing, honestly, how many terrorists or how many Hamas do you think Israel has killed compared to how many civilians?
So I'll answer the genocide one first. The UN did not officially say this. I think 60 to 80 UN states said this, if I'm not mistaken. The ICJ, the only body with authority over Israel, has not said there's a genocide going on. They warned them that some of their actions, if true, could constitute as one, but they have never declared a genocide going on. The ICC has. Israel's not a member of the ICC. Who gives a shit? Amnesty International has, and a couple other human rights organizations. Investigation was done showing that there was no evidence to back their claims. In terms of declaring it a genocide, I can show you like what China's been doing. Iran's been doing, Russia's been doing. If we look at resolutions, 87% of the resolutions that have been put against any nation in the world have been against Israel since 2006, where we have Russia moving into 4 different countries and bombing civilians, and they have like 2 resolutions against them at all. So unprovoked, they didn't get an October 7th to move into Georgia or to move into Ukraine. So like the fact that the UN is doing this, the fact that UNRWA is completely overrun, 13% of higher educators in UNRWA were teaching Hamas to hundreds of thousands, Hamas propaganda to hundreds of thousands of students. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean all of them became child militants. We only know about 100,000 child militants that have come out of that so far. So, 400,000 are still not proven to be, but UNRWA, again, also is holding hostages that have been released from Israel are saying they were held in UNRWA tents, UNRWA buildings. We've also seen UNRWA people getting out of UN cars. There's videos on Twitter. I have them linked in my account. People getting out of UNRWA cars and shooting Gazans. They were members of Hamas that were shooting Gazans. The reason they were doing that, those Gazans accepted Israeli food. That to me, there's not a genocide going on.
Yeah. So,
well, I did get to the second point though. Like, how many? Sorry, Prime. How many Hamas have been killed compared to how many civilians?
Well, I think it's interesting, Alex, that you're saying this, right? Like, I just want to focus on this genocide and the ratios, right? I guess Prime would probably argue that we committed a genocide in Afghanistan because our kill death ratio was like 1 to 1,000 fucking militants in Afghanistan.
Would I argue that?
I don't know. I don't know. I was giving you. Well, you might not. I mean, you might not argue that we did it. But when we talk about ratio, I know you just don't like wars. But when we talk about, I'm not bad faith in you. I didn't mean it like that. I apologize.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. So when I'm sitting here going, hey, when we're talking about ratios, just because Hamas is bad at war and they're sitting here classifying every person that dies as a civilian doesn't mean it's unfair and they're sitting here committing genocide. You yourself know that Israel's way more militarily powerful than Hamas. And if they wanted to, they could just wipe the whole area off the face of the earth and just pave it over and start rebuilding. There's no question. Not a good argument. Well, hold on. It is a good argument because they could do this. They could do this and they don't do it. Instead, what they do is provide like a knock method where they bomb an area, but they bomb it in the air and then they allow people to leave and then they bomb the building and get the infrastructure out, knowing this is going to allow Hamas leadership to escape. They do this all the time. It's a known and documented thing they do. They've sitting here and taken major steps whenever they have found people that have committed war crimes. The Israelis have prosecuted them. And not only that, when we're sitting here looking, nobody has been judged and watched as closely as Israel has. And this is a good point Tyler brought up with how nobody's going after Russia. Nobody's going after what's happening to Uyghur Muslims in China. Nobody's going after all these other countries. No one gave a shit about Rwanda. No one cares what's happening in Rwanda right now with the area, with the Congo. No one cares. Israel's the most watched country in the world. And if they wanted to, they could actually be committing a genocide and wiping these people out. Instead, they're taking steps. But it's hard when you have a terrorist organization that got elected as a government and they're using human shields and civilian infrastructure in order to launch rockets and attack these people. Whenever you're hiding in hospitals, schools, and churches and shit, and you're fighting and you go, they're not going to attack us here. And if they do, they're so evil. Well, guess what? You're lucky that that it's not the United States from World War II, because we would have just bombed the church and we would have laughed while we were doing it. And guess what? Now we're over here going, oh, look, poor Israel's so mean because they decided to kill the terrorist hiding in the civilian house. It's ridiculous that you're going to sit here and try to use this argument and say it's not relevant when I say Israel could just wipe the people off the earth, because they could do this and they're choosing not to.
It's funny how the reason why I brought this up, and I still haven't had my answer question, but we'll kind of bypass it because I'm just going to say that they don't know the answer to this question. But anyway,
you don't know the answer to that question.
Well, I do know the answer to the question.
No,
actually,
you don't,
but
because they classify civilians as combat.
I can answer it. I can answer it. So.
Go ahead, Tyler.
All right, so it depends on who you're asking. If you ask the Gaza Health Ministry, they're going to tell you about 64,000 people have died since the war started. And then they'll tell you combatant-wise, there was a hacked Israeli database that was confirmed combatants. It was about 9,600, I think it was, or maybe 8,900, somewhere in that vicinity. So they're saying it's about 1 to 6, whereas Israel's saying they've only killed about 40,000 people, and that database was not the complete data set. It was just one type of person that they've gone after, which were the confirmed. They still have a lot of people that they think are, they just don't have the necessarily investigation and intelligence. And they're saying 20,000 out of 40,000. So depending on who you ask, it's either 1 to 2 or 1 to 6. Urban warfare, though, is a little bit different. In urban warfare, you could easily see 10 to 1. And it would be
considering I've actually been in urban warfare, I can actually tell you that without a doubt, because the thing is, like, when it comes down to Israel, is like they've completely destroyed entire sections of the city. Like, we're talking like reduced to complete rubble. It's like millions upon millions of pounds of rubble. So this whole argument about, oh, well, they could go in and just wipe, well, they've pretty much wiped out entire sections of city. And once again, I've already brought up the fact that they tell the people to go to Rafah. And what did they do to Rafah? They bombed it. There were people that were actually being treated in tents and they bombed them. There were people being burned alive based upon this. And let on the fact that I do want to address this whole speculation about Hamas stealing aid. Actually, there's actually no proof of this. There's 156 different investigations and 156 different shipments coming into there. And they actually, the UN has never been proven that said Hamas has stole this. As a matter of fact, apparently the Israeli government by Netanyahu was apparently hiring people to come over and steal the aid from these different convoys. Let alone the fact that you talk about they're feeding 2 million meals a day. You actually need like at least 10 times as much in order to feed the amount of people that's needed in this region, let alone the fact there was actually a lieutenant colonel that's a retired Green Beret that was part of, you know, the whole Gaza humanitarian fund, said that he has never seen such cruelty. And he's seen the Taliban, ISIS. He's seen all these different all these different terrorist groups commit acts of cruelty, which I can definitely say without a doubt, they are cruel people. But he has never seen such acts of cruelty where they're actually shooting at people for sport. Once again, a war crime. These are completely undeniable, essentially. You can't sit here and tell me, oh, well, you know, they're the most moral army. How can they be the most moral army when they're not allowing press to come in, when they're killing all the journalists, essentially? Okay, so Gibbs brings up one journalist is holding people hostage. Okay, that guy's a son of a bitch. I'm willing to concede that argument. But I'm simply talking about the fact that there are journalists that have died consistently. They've been massacred.
There's no evidence that the journalists held hostages. There's no evidence. Anyway. Israel alleges that journalists held hostages in Gaza without providing evidence. A CNN article. They haven't actually provided evidence. Like this is just a claim that they've made it. And Israel does this all the goddamn time, right? They make these claims. They don't back it up by anything. They're written down, right, by the State Department here, and then blasted out as if they have any credibility back with them. But no, there is no evidence that this took place. But sorry, I'll let you finish your point. Then I'll jump in.
I kind of lost my train of thought, so you're good. It's fine.
Okay. So then back to it. Tyler talks about the number of UN resolutions against Israel versus the number of resolutions against anyone else. Now I've never actually looked into this, but let's say that's about right. Well, then that makes sense, right? That Israel would have a whole raft of resolutions against it. Well, Israel's a rogue state. Israel flouts international law constantly, right? Not the only one, that's true, right? Others do so as well. But Israel has been consistently doing it for decades. Israel has no chill when it comes to following the rules, right? And the reason why it doesn't face penalties is because Big Daddy United States will use its veto power on the Security Council to protect Israel from all these things, right? So Israel with its illegal settlements, right? Israel, with not complying with rulings from the ICJ. Israel, who has its leadership, is wanted, right? Is wanted by the International Criminal Court. So we understand why Israel tends to be the focus, right? It's not everyone, not because the world wants to be big meanies to Israel, and not because they're just innocent little lambs, right? And they just can't get a break. No, Israel is a threat to the region. Israel, again, inflames tensions, right? So that's why Israel tends to get that focus. Also, yeah, of course, Israel has bombed 6 of his neighbors. Let's not forget that, right? Israel is a belligerent, violent nation that keeps bombing around, everything around it, right? Israel has bombed, let me pull up the list here, but it's bombed Syria, it's bombed Lebanon, it's bombed Yemen, it's bombed Iran, let's not forget, during the peace process. And it's bombed. There's another one here that I'm missing. I'll pull up in a second. But also Palestine, certainly. So Israel has proven that it'll be a bully within that region, right? Safe and secure, that it is backed by a superpower. Israel also Iraq, I believe. Israel wants to have the United States fight all its wars for it, right? Up leading to the start of the Iraq War, Netanyahu, right, was all too happy to make the case for U.S. involvement, right? All too happy to talk about supposed WMDs, right? And then, of course, once that was done, once their regional rival was taken out, well, then it moves on to Iran. Well, we just got to, right? Existential threat, right? Israel's on the front lines of fighting it, but we just need your help, America. Go fight our enemies for us, right? Donald Trump, right, who I thought my good friend Gibbs backed, right? I thought he is a loyal supporter, but Donald Trump, do you remember in his first term, had the option of bombing Iran, right? Literally the planes were heading towards Iran, right? They were heading towards, and Donald Trump called him back. Well, wow. Well, thank you, sir, Donald Trump, president, for choosing peace, right? Like, this is the story is oftentimes repeated by our Republican friends because they want to make the case that Donald Trump is an anti-war presidency. Now, this is a laughable statement, but still, this is one of their cornerstone pieces that Donald Trump did not want to engage. Well, Israel saw that, recognized that, and decided to force his hand. And so Israel goes, inflames tensions with Iran. Israel says when there's a peace process going on, right, we'll slaughter the negotiators, right? Quite a statement there. And we'll begin a bombing campaign. And then I guess the U.S. will have to just go along with it, right? So Israel leads our leaders, right, Biden and Trump, by the nose, right? And I guess Admiral Gibbs is just okay with that. Admiral Gibbs is okay with Netanyahu giving the orders and America being its bitch. But if you aren't, dear audience members, then maybe you should support the U.S. breaking ties with Israel.
I mean, that's ludicrous. That's absolutely ludicrous. They're using our weapon systems. Those are our weapon systems. We're not their bitch. They're our bitch. You can sit here and try to use this talking point. If push came to shove, they only exist because we allow them to. There's a reason why they're using the F-35I and the F-15I and all these other things because, we're training these people.
Hey, Gibbs, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Then I'll send it back to you. Right, Gibbs, you said they only exist because we allow them to, or something along those lines.
Yeah, every country exists because we allow them to, because we're the big daddies.
Hold on. So, but
yeah,
okay,
stay with me. We have 11
so
super
that
carriers.
part's okay. That part's not true. But hold on. But you were talking. Hold on a second, friend. But like you're talking about like our support for Israel in terms of their like our military support, right? What would happen if we cut off that military support? What do you think?
Well, based off how things have gone previously and how inept and corrupt the Arab militaries are, they would probably still be beating that ass. I mean, I don't have any doubt about that. Lebanon doesn't have a functioning government most of the time. They recently, just now, after 3 years, were able to get a government together to clear off the trash from the street. So I think they can handle Lebanon. And then Lebanon's got rid of Hezbollah now that Iran is weaker than it's ever been. Syria is in disarray, and the Druze people are coming to Israel, asking Israel for help. So yeah, I think they'd be fine. I think they'd be fine now.
Do you remember the short 12-day war between Israel and Iran, or whatever you want to call it, conflict, right?
Sure.
But you remember that, right? That when America got dragged in like Israel's bitch.
See, that was us coming to our allies' help. And also, you're getting to test out a new bunker buster bomb. So double win right there.
I'm going to give you something to actually argue with me about, though.
Sure.
But Gibbs, do you remember the reporting around Israel's defenses, right? How they were being exhausted. I forget which, because Israel has like a triple layer defense system, right? Like David Sling and then Iron Dome and like whatever, right? There's a whole they're all like 4 different types of missiles, right? That they're going to send out. Well, one of them, I think this is for the more long range ones, but I could be wrong. I'm sorry. They were talking about like how Israel was running out of those missiles. Those were coming from the U.S., right? Like you said,
you're right.
Right? They're a client state, right? And they buy those from us, but they literally could not fill those as fast, right? Like, or it was not at all, right? Like they came from the U.S., right? So they cost an exorbitant amount of money, and they take forever to build.
Okay.
They're
buying these from the U.S., right?
Yeah. They buy those.
I just want to thank Prime. Prime just gave me one of the best points, and I actually posted this in the open. Thank you so much, Prime. You gave away the game. Here's exactly why. One, like I said earlier, we're getting real-world experience. We're seeing the drone warfare that Iran's using. We're seeing the problem. They're sitting here attacking the missile defense system. We're seeing how we need to build our missile defense system to anticipate drones. That's a net win. 2, we got to use it when we talked about the Iran bomb that we sent. It's not that they were a bitch. It was that, hey, Israel whooped their ass so bad using, guess what, the F-35I and the F-15I. If they open up corridors, we got to see real-world, real-time, near-peer adversary combat with air-to-air systems and create air superiority. That's something we're going to need to know. We're seeing updated tech. That's fantastic. And then we got to test out our new bunker busters and used the B-1 that we're replacing with the B-21. And we saw how far advanced we are with the Iranians' new Russian-built radar defense systems. And we saw they couldn't even see us. They didn't even know we were there and who bombed them until we got back here to the U.S. safe and sound. So, yeah, that's all good. And then finally, I think the biggest thing that you gave me as a big win when you said this was, they have to buy it from us and it's expensive, each one of these items. Hell yeah. Guess what? Guess who builds those things here in America? Americans build those things when they're working for Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Skunk Works, Northrop Grumman. All those missiles they're building, all those defense systems are built by Americans. And guess what? They're using that Jew gold to pay for it, and it's coming over here and it's becoming American gold. Okay. God bless America. We are capitalists and we're selling the missiles to them. And guess what? Why do you want Americans to be out of their jobs? Typical leftists wanting Americans to have to live off welfare instead of to have high-paying jobs in the military, industrial complex related industries.
I would never call it. I won't ever call it Jew gold.
Yeah.
Right? That's his term. Not my term, okay, right? So when people are going to type their letters, when they go on Twitter, right, type their messages, I'll make sure either Admiral Gibbs said that, not me.
Yeah, they give us the money, baby. Let's go.
Hey, Gibbs, like, I didn't.
Do you think that buying weapons is bad for the economy?
Gibbs, I wasn't making an argument that it was bad for our economy.
Well, the argument is whether we should cut ties with Israel, and if it's good for the economy, that's a big point in our favor.
Listen, I was simply making an argument about Israel's ability to actually defend itself without America's support. And I think actually, from all the things that you're saying, that you actually agree with me, right? That like these defense systems that Israel relies on, right? Yeah, those are American-made defense systems. That's the point that I was trying to make, right? I wasn't trying to hide the ball with you here, right? I'm agreeing with you. That yes, those are American-made defense.
But that doesn't help your point.
Well, it actually kind of does. Well, Gibbs, it actually kind of does, because here's the thing: like, we send them $3.8 billion a year. Do you know what actually Israel can actually do? Because we actually help support their military. They're actually able to afford things like healthcare for all their, all the citizens in their country. They can actually afford good college in their country, something that we can't even do in this country. So just think about like what we could actually do if we cut financial ties with Israel. We could actually take the time to actually invest. I mean, you love America, right? Couldn't we use that $3.8 billion to create a healthcare system in this country that's actually functional? I mean, wouldn't that be beneficial?
Fuck no. One, healthcare is evil. Like that is the way you do it.
Healthcare is evil?
Taxing Americans. Hold on, taxing
Why do you
Americans.
hate America?
Yeah, why? No, I don't. What I hate is this duplicitous.
Why do you hate America,
Hold on, this is a duplicitous bait and switch what you're doing right here. This is crazy. What you want, instead of us getting real-time info with military combat, right? Seeing exactly what the real time is, you want to weaken America. You want to weaken one of our strongest allies, and you're going to sit here and say, "Oh, we're going to implement healthcare here," which we're not. But if we did, it would be evil because we're sitting here taxing Americans and saying, "Hey, I can rail cocaine, and I can fuck hookers, and I can have AIDS, and I can all these things due to my own poor decisions." And then guess what? You're going to reach into Tyler's pocket and you're going to force him to pay for it. That's fucking evil. People should take their own accountability. That's what's running. Yeah. Well, listen, you don't, Gibbs. But I do. But here's the next thing. And this, like I said, you're arguing. Hey, guess what? We don't like these American jobs. We don't like the military industrial complex, which provides thousands and thousands of jobs. It's one of our biggest industries. And you're saying, fuck you to all those workers. Find something else to do.
Gibbs,
hold
on one second.
Don't tell me I hate America when you're putting forth policies that fuck America in the ass with no lube.
Gibbs, you said that, like, hey, what you don't want, right, is someone to reach into, I believe you said Tyler's pocket, right, and get him to pay. I thought you said Tyler, but maybe you didn't say.
Yeah,
he said Tyler.
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah, you said.
Stay out of my pockets.
God damn it.
You said
unless you're pulling his pocket.
Want them to reach into Tyler's pocket and to do something. To apply that to healthcare, right? Like taxation. Basically, shout out to our libertarian friends saying like taxation is theft. That it's being used for things, other than what you may specifically desire. Well, like Israel is the biggest recipient of aid, of foreign aid, period, right? Israel received billions in foreign aid, always, right? Like, why do you want to support? My understanding is that that you are against aid in general, but by aid, right? That means donated, right? Not even bought, right? But donated military hardware. Right, we'll send them over. Direct support, right? Us building systems. Now, some of those systems might need ongoing maintenance, and maybe then they might buy something. But for the most part, billions and billions and billions of military aid simply goes to Israel. And we don't get anything back. Are you for that? Are you for your taxpayer?
That's not true at all. This is actually a misnomer. The country that receives the most aid is Ukraine. They get 17 billion. They got 17 billion in 2023.
No, I mean overall.
I have the source, by the way. You don't have the source, but I do. And here's what's crazy about that is the military. Israel is the biggest provider of military aid from us. However, once again, a lot of that aid comes with restrictions or stipulations that they end up having to pay us back, or they have to buy these items. This is something that's so it's aid, but it's aid that's paying American taxpayers, and we get that money back. Unlike a lot of these countries, Israel actually pays us back. That's what's crazy here. You're sitting here going, "Oh, well, it's aid, so fuck them." No. I'm sitting here saying I want Americans to have more jobs, and you just don't want Americans working. I want our enemies weaker. Iran's our enemy. Iraq used to be our enemy. Syria was our enemy. Syria's gone now. Now they get control. Lebanon was our enemy. You guess what? The Houthis are our enemy. And guess what? Israel's beating all their asses, and we aren't having to send U.S. troops over there. Why do you want U.S. troops to have to go over there and die? Because eventually they are. As I showed you earlier with historical context,
Tyler wants
since
military troops over there.
1786, they have been trying to attack Americans, and it's not going to change anytime soon.
Actually, Tyler wants military troops over there. He actually made that position abundantly clear on your panel back in
February. He could make that argument.
Yeah,
I'm okay with American
we're arguing about.
That's not what we're
arguing my personal stances. That's
no. It's not a personal stance. It's an argument they actually made, though. But here's the thing that's most interesting about this is because Gibbs has been very much against us sending any kind of Ukraine aid, essentially. But he's perfectly okay with
this. At all.
Sir, you made that. I've heard you say it on panels multiple times.
That's fake news. You're lying about me. I'm not going to let you sit here and lie about me when I've sat here. You can go on lots of panels. I'm the only Republican I know that has sat here and backed U.S. aid to Ukraine. In fact, I said we can crank it up. You can ask Prime multiple times on his panel. So, right now, Prime can tell you that I have backed U.S. aid to Ukraine a lot because it funds our military and industrial complex. So stop fucking lying, you sack of shit. I don't want to hear that I said something when I didn't say it, when I have 3 people on this panel that can verbatim say what I see. If anybody's saying fake news, it's you.
Anyway, as I was saying, sir.
Yeah,
anyway,
keep lying. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, I'm lying, even though I've actually got all the facts on my side. But anyway,
yeah, you're fast. Like I said something I didn't say.
Let me just add in here. If
Go
you're
ahead.
saying that he said this on multiple panels outside of this debate right now, if the claim's not being made here now, then it's really not accountable to the debate.
Well, his own partner can vouch for my claim that I've had backed fucking sending lots of money and weapons to Ukraine many times.
Anyway, as I was saying though, like when it comes down to when it comes down to Ukraine though, like the money that we send to Ukraine is actually being tracked. When it comes down to the money that we send to Israel, it's not being tracked. Essentially, it's actually a little bit harder to track stuff, you know. But again, I keep up bringing up this fact though, is the fact that with Israel, right? How is it that we're going to continue to support a country that is not allowing journalists to go into the countries to actually document what is going on? They claim they're the most moral military in the entire world, but yet they're not allowing journalists in to come in. They're basically saying it. Oh, Tyler, go ahead. Since you want to jump in.
I was going to address that. Just finish your point.
No. Go ahead. I mean, you seem unless you want to finish chewing.
Well,
I mean,
before you do that, then I
don't want the man to choke. I mean, I'm trying to be considerate here. So
before you do that, right? Let me address the point that our friend Gibbs made. Right. Once again, Israel has received the most foreign spending. Ukraine got 78.3 billion in spending from the United States, right? Israel has recently gotten around 21.6. I think that number has grown since this article was written, right? But since World War II, Israel has been the largest recipient of U.S. foreign aid. The country has accepted more than 300 billion since 1946, according to the Council on Foreign Relations, with more than 220 billion in the figure in military aid. So yes, it has been Israel. Like recently, Ukraine has gotten a lot more money. That's certainly the case, as far as I can tell. But Israel is the largest recipient.
Yeah, and I fully supporting Ukraine because Ukraine was actually invaded by Russia, and I fully support that. And here's the thing: like when it comes down to the whole concept of the military-industrial complex, like here's the thing: it's a very complicated subject essentially, because a lot of the funding we actually send over there to like places like Ukraine or Israel is actually stuff that we've used before that we don't actually need anymore, especially in Ukraine. That's like the biggest concept that I think people need to understand about this. But again, I really want to kind of get back to this when I asked earlier, when it comes down to like what actually makes something a genocide, and like how does like what's happening in Gaza not constitute as a genocide? I'd like to get back to that.
Can I got a lot of notes for things we've already discussed. Can I cap these off before we move on to the next thing?
How much is it? Because I don't want to be a gift.
Go ahead, do your thing, Tyler. It's your turn to speak.
It's fine.
I'll go.
You should get a chance.
Yeah, I'll go.
Tyler's pretty fast.
If you want to stop me, just stop me and we'll discuss that. So talking about aid, actually Prime basically said I was going to do $317.9 billion adjusted for inflation, about 220 not adjusted for inflation. 35% of that goes to non-military things. The military things we give them are strictly defensive. They are not allowed to use that money offensively. Though money is fungible, the same way Iran wasn't allowed to use that $6 billion Obama gave it for the JCPOA, and they used that to fund terror. They just found more money to fund terrorism, I think about $4 billion. So Blinken, I want to contest your claim that there's no proof that Hamas was stealing aid, because Tony Blinken went over to Iran 11 times in the 12 months between the war starting and them leaving office. In those trips, the number one message he was pushing with them was that they need to make sure aid is going in. Israel was saying this aid is being stolen. They were showing proof. They've showed a ton of proof. They put out a ton of evidence showing this. While Tony Blinken was there, a UN convoy of trucks went in and Hamas hijacked it right in front of our Secretary of the State in the Biden administration. I have the link in my citation document where this shit fucking happened. It's crazy. They ended up getting the aid back, but the fact that Hamas has so brazen that they stole it in front of Tony Blinken, who was here to oversee it. On top of that, the tunnel system is completely done from international aid, cement used to build bomb shelters, food put in for the Gazan people. Hamas took all that, built their terror tunnel system. On top of that, they've also been stealing this US aid. The BBC was who did the report showing that they have warehouses packed full of food. They execute anyone that breaks into them that's starving, and they upsell things at 100 times the rate. This is the BBC, not a really far right-wing outlet. So it's well been proven that Hamas is not only stealing this aid, but using it to fund the war effort, since Iran is kind of having some of their own issues right now.
Okay, so quick question about the aid bit. Okay, do you know who's actually been funneling aid into like before the whole like October 7th kicked off, do you know who actually was funneling aid to make sure it got pushed through?
Oh, I want to say it was the UN, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't have that in front of me.
Qatar asked Israel, should we continue to fund in towards, Gaza, Palestine, to the Hamas? And Israel said yes. They actually funded this. They actually were okay with funding in towards this. So basically, they were funding what happened on October the 7th, essentially. So what's up with that?
So let's discuss this aid situation, right? One Google search, right? New York Times from July 26, 2025. No proof Hamas routinely stole UN aid, Israeli military officials say. For nearly 2 years, read this very quickly. For nearly 2 years, Israel has accused Hamas of stealing aid provided by the United Nations and other international organizations. The government has used the claim as its main rationale for restricting food from entering Gaza because Israel restricts food from going into Gaza. But the Israeli military never found proof that the Palestinian military group had routinely, systematically stolen aid from the United Nations, the biggest supplier of emergency assistance to Gaza for most of the war, according to 2 senior Israeli military officials and 2 other Israelis involved in the matter.
I have 6 different citations in here.
Why don't you bring up the citations?
Multiple of them are videos as well. The BBC article. I mean, I would bring them up. I want to move on. I have like 5 other points I want to get to. I don't want to get bogged down in a citation.
No. You tell me to stop you whenever. Right.
Yeah,
so
I just
give me those
citations. Just post the citations. Let them go through it. Then you can go.
Yeah, if they're posted, you can go through it. But that being said, I'm not going to get bogged down on that. I got more.
Yeah, because you oftentimes lying about your.
There's been no lies that you found. Instead,
I literally found lies the last time we had
get to you because
remember that, right?
Your argument.
You lied about your citation.
No, I did not. You were.
Yes, you did.
You
had to walk it back.
Pardon me, gentlemen. Pardon me. That's this point. The citation. I'm assuming you've already dropped them in the private chat. If not, you will.
I have.
They are available for you, Prime,
They're
to
not
go
here.
through.
I told you.
Well, he's got the big Google
There's a
Doc
document
up at the very top.
right at the top. Click on it. There's 200 citations in there.
Oh, no. I'm not going to go through your 200 citations. Find me those citations.
No, I'm not going to do your debate prep for you.
So hold on.
If you don't know something, it's your job to look this shit up.
Let me talk. No, I can't. He gives a whole list of citations, right? No, it's not my job.
Pardon me, gentlemen. I'm not going to make an entire debate about citations. Tyler, if you have an idea of what the articles are called, I will go find them while you guys continue on.
Just search BBC and you'll find it in there. It's a BBC doc. There's only like 5 from BBC.
Okay, and this is referring to the food, correct?
It's referring to the flour.
I will go find it and I will drop those specific links back in the private chat, and you gentlemen can move on until then.
So getting on to Prime's argument tonight, the first 45 minutes, we argued about the claims of genocide, famine, ethnic cleansing, and occupation, and all of those claims were debunked. He didn't speak for any of that. The first time he spoke, he said, I don't care about any of that. He doesn't actually care to hear that his claims were debunked because it's already a belief in his head. It kind of leads you down the route to the Gibbs strategy of, is there an ulterior motive based on group discrimination here? Because there's no logical explanation for it, since again, his points were debunked here. Now, there was a 5-minute Trump rant as well. I hope you charge rent for that headspace, because that was a little bit embarrassing as well. But your entire argument tonight has been, we're going to be Israel's bitch and ignoring all the proof contrary. So I'm going to go into a little bit of the proof for here. When the UN did nothing when Russia attacked multiple nations unprovoked, the UN did nothing for these camps that China set up to re-educate Muslims. They did nothing when Hamas and Hezbollah violated UN peace deals and attacked Israel unprovoked. But they put 87% of resolutions that they passed against Israel. So what you're saying is, Israel's just bad. They're just extra bad. But examples of people doing worse aren't being punished. If it wasn't a clear bias, then you'd at least see those nations being punished as well. But it's not even brought up. There's no resolutions. It's not put to a vote. All the enemies of Israel make up 4% of those resolutions over that 20-year period. Israel makes up 87% of them. It's clear as day to anyone who doesn't have the massive double standard. And then going to the citation point, you were reading one small citation looking for a point that was on a different one. I linked you like 6. I know that a lot of articles and news confuse you if you don't read past the headline very often, but you were debunked to that. You got schooled in that one. You're getting smacked around here as well.
Yeah.
Okay, let me
Hold on,
deal
with it, please.
I'll go after you then.
Sure. Right.
I'll go after Alex.
So I'm still waiting for
They're being
proof, right?
I've been dropping them backstage for you. There's 2 links so far.
Okay, I'll take a look at these, right? And we'll hold on. We have to assume. And Sarah, if you could go into his document for him and make sure these are the ones he's talking about, right? Did you go into his document?
Yes,
and look.
That's where I'm
great.
pulling these.
Oh,
from.
okay, great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Then I'll look through that in a second.
I hope he doesn't.
I think she might have found something else when she Googled BBC. Just saying.
I thought that's what he was implying, that she was going. It's okay, fair enough. It's okay.
That took me too long.
You're throwing me off here, so okay, fair enough. So Tyler, right, being the desperate individual that he is, right, wants to now throw across words like or imply anti-Semitism, right? It's too much of a coward to say otherwise, right? But he wants to imply anti-Semitism. Well, understand this. I won't ever be intimidated by such accusations, right? And I don't have to worry about disproving it. I'm just going to stick to the facts like I always do, right? And embarrass Tyler like I did last time so badly that he didn't want to ever come back to the reverie again because he got beat so bad, right? We all remember that. Any case,
kick me off.
Any case, I didn't kick you off. Let me kick you off. You were there.
You did. You said, be a man. I'm going to force you off my panel. When it ended, you never invited me back. So you're just lying.
No, I did invite you back. Look at our DMs. I did invite you back.
Gentlemen, I'm going to remind you. I'm going to remind you of something that I specifically told you backstage regarding any personal shit, personal abuse, whatever. Stays the fuck off my screen. Stay on topic and get to the point. I don't want to hear about any other bitch modes from any other streams. Thank you.
Looking at my DMs, I did invite you again. You didn't come back. But in any case, so back to your nonsense, right? One, claims of anti-Semitism. These are used as distractions, right? They are used just personal attacks. Then he talks about, hey, how the UN hasn't put sanctions against Russia, and wow, that might be, but they have taken action against Israel. Well, Russia is on the Security Council. Russia has veto power, right? And when the UN tries to take action against any of the Security Council members, the permanent members, they just veto it. They veto it every time, right? And if it's against one of their allies, then they'll veto it in. Like I said previously, U.S. protects Israel, right? So when these things come up, these sanctions come up, well, they're just going to do the exact same thing. They're going to deny it. It's not evidence of bias by the United Nations, right? The entire world anti-Semitic too, right? Again, the lies are endless, right? And the obfuscation is endless when it comes to this individual, Tyler. But simply look it up. Right, stick to the facts and don't worry about specious claims of bigotry. Alex, I'm sorry, I've been interrupting you.
It's okay, it's fine. So I just want to ask my opponents simple questions. These are yes or no questions, okay? And I want you to tell me if these are wrong, yes or no, okay? Do you think it's wrong to kill certain members of a certain ethnic group? Yes or no?
Vague.
Well, it's a simple yes or no question.
Circumstantially, yes, and circumstantially, no.
Thank you. Okay, Gibbs, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this is some ticky-tack word game bullshit. So
it's not ticky-tack. It's specific. Okay, how about causing serious bodily or mental harm to specific groups of people?
I mean, this is the most vague bullshit that I've ever heard.
Sir,
like, just get to your point. Just get to your point. Like, we're not playing this game.
I'm sorry. This is not a game. Actually, it's actually relevant to the argument.
It's
okay.
a game.
Okay, you can think it's a game, but this is not a game, sir. You're probably just saying this for clicks, but this is very serious. Okay,
no, I'm just saying this is
okay.
Word game
How about deliberately inflicting convictions of life, basically destroying schools, hospitals, things like that? Is that like
we've already covered this? They're hiding in the. They literally we have tons of evidence that they're sitting here putting missile launchers in schools. Like, what are you talking about?
Calm down, sweetheart. It's okay.
Listen. Calm down, sweetheart. Listen, I'm not going to be calm because you're sitting here doing this bullshit. Yeah, listen, you can keep trying to shush me, but you're just wearing a jacket. jackass. Whenever I've already gone through and Tyler's gone through and we've talked about specifics where they have tunnels underneath. Yeah, cool. If I say in a vacuum bombing a hospital, yeah, that's bad. But if you have bombs and weapons and guns and you're sniping at people out of a hospital, no, then it's not bad if you get bombed.
Hey,
it's all circumstantial. Like, give me a fucking break, bro.
Be nicer to Alex because he's actually arguing substance instead of just saying I don't care and ignoring all the 45 minutes of his argument getting destroyed.
No, it's just bad faith is what this is.
It's not bad faith. It's actually very specific, honestly. And
okay, go ahead. We'll continue.
Anyway, imposing measures to prevent births of people, is that wrong? Yes or no?
I guess no if you're a leftist because you believe that it's okay for them to fucking stop Down syndrome kids from being born in some countries.
Okay, that's not my argument. Okay, that's straw man.
It's convenient when it's circumstance something else, isn't it? Though,
anyway, how about forcibly transferring children to another group of people? Is that wrong?
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess like the Iranians forcibly transition gay men and to women because they don't believe in it, or they forcibly throw people off the top of a building.
What?
Like, you see how I can play this game? Like
transition.
Jesus Christ!
I said transferring, not trans. Oh
hey, well, you know, I'm just doing the word game here. He's doing.
Okay, sir, you're not listening. Okay, these are
because it's stupid what you're doing.
Okay, it's stupid. Okay, this is the Article 2 indicating what genocide actually looks like. And if you would have said yes to any of these, that's what genocide basically is. And if you said
nobody
no,
said yes.
That's because you're being bad faith right now. You're just coping.
No, we know your game,
sir. This is not a game, actually. I know
it is a game.
Sir, this is just a game for you, but I'm actually asking specific questions.
This is a game that you're doing because you're sitting there. Once again, you asked the hospital thing, knowing it's specifically Article 2. But, guess what? I don't think Article 2 is sitting there covering when people are using it, specifically hospitals and schools, as missile launching sites and then not letting kids leave or people in the hospital leave.
Okay, are all hospitals being used as missile launching sites? Yes or no?
So if Israel destroyed every single hospital in all of Gaza and every one of them, every single one. Even in the Red Cross camps, they destroyed all the Red Cross camps. Every medical facility that exists. No, they have not destroyed every single medical facility. Oh, every single one in the red.
I didn't say destroy every single. They've destroyed medical sites. Sir, they've actually destroyed. People that are actually going in to rescue. They've destroyed medical facilities. They destroyed I talked about Rafah, and I was like, oh well, oh what about this one time? You're just fucking flying all over the goddamn place and shit like that, and you're not letting people.
No, I'm talking about verifiable things, and you're sitting here playing word games.
Sir, I'm not playing word games. I'm asking you the criteria according to the Geneva Conventions, and you're.
And I'm asking you, do we have examples of this?
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Do we have examples?
Oh my god!
Do we have examples? I don't know about the flash suit is. I mean, listen. If you come on a late night debate show, maybe dress up some. But here's what I'm saying. Whenever you are sitting here talking about all these things, Geneva Convention, why don't we talk about how we do have evidence they launch missiles from schools? We do have evidence that they build tunnels under hospitals. We do have evidence they use civilian structures as bases. So when you're sitting here saying, oh, do these apply to the Geneva Convention? Well, I would argue, no, they don't, because those would be valid military targets. Under any
I asked you a very specific question. Are all
do you agree that those things have happened? That they had used as missile launchers?
Yes, I can agree that happened.
Oh, cool. Then you agree that what your whole point is about the Geneva Convention doesn't even matter.
Gibbs, are all hospitals in Gaza or Palestine being used as missile launch sites? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes, they are.
They're not. They are not.
Well, it's not just missile launch sites; it's military staging grounds. So
they're not all being used like that.
Every house. They destroyed every hospital in Gaza, and then the UN
70%. 70% of hospitals all across Palestine have been destroyed.
So not every one of them has been destroyed. So you lied there once again.
I didn't lie. I said no.
Unbelievable.
Hold on a second. Wait. Stop. I did not lie.
Unbelievable.
No, sir. I did not lie about it.
You just said everyone was destroyed when I asked you straight up.
Okay, sir. I did not. No. First things first. I didn't say not all of them have been destroyed. I said that medical sites, and I've said that places like Rafah, where people have been evacuated to, have been destroyed, which you have not countered with essentially. Instead, you're just sitting there flying off the fucking handles, talking about, oh well, they're all being used. You're talking like Alex Jones right now. Oh my god, they're all being used as
it's not Alex Jones. We have confirmed reports from multiple parties on both sides.
All hospital. I asked you a specific question. You still haven't answered it. Are all hospitals in Gaza being used as missile launch sites or military targets?
It looks like no, based off your own logic, because 30% haven't been destroyed. So 70% have been used by it if they've been destroyed. Wow, cool.
Wait,
thank you for telling me I'm right.
Where's your proof?
You're the one who just gave it to me.
Sir, 70% of hospitals have been destroyed. Are they all hostile
all
targets.
70? I'm going to argue, yeah, all 70% of those were probably
Where is
hostile
your
party.
proof? I would love to see your numbers.
Where's your proof that it's not? We have proof that many of them have
prove
been.
a negative. So
I can't. Hold on. I can prove a substantial number of them were used as staging grounds. I can prove a substantial number of them. Hold on. I can prove a substantial number of them were doing this. And this is why I asked you of all of them. And when you said yes, guess what? And then you find out there's 30% that were. What it looks like to me, whenever you have a small country like Gaza, or a small area that's really, really small, smaller than even the size of New Jersey, and you have very few of these, and guess what? Oh, hey, 70% are being used as military staging grounds. That's within the realm of possibility to me, especially when especially when we have substantial evidence that is what. No, it's not a straw man. You keep saying straw man, but here, okay, well, you don't know what a straw man is. When I can give specific examples from multiple sources of them having underground tunnels, of weapons being stored there, of shot callers being there, and I can point to a numerous example, and you can't tell me exactly how many of that 70% weren't doing that. Yeah, you can't prove a negative, but I can prove a positive, and that a substantial number have been confirmed to have been, and that's why those 30% that haven't been destroyed because they weren't fucking military operations, unlike the other ones.
Even though there's actually no proof to any of that whatsoever, honestly. If you want to talk about like one or two hospitals, okay, fine, I accept this because
how many hospitals do you think are in Gaza, the Gaza area?
I don't know.
Is there 2,000? Is there 100?
No, there's not a few thousand. There's not even 6,000.
36. Oh, so 36. So a relatively small number of hospitals could be destroyed, and that would equal 70%. A relatively small number of hospitals in military zones where we have evidence of them using them as staging grounds. Yeah, thank you for proving my point once again.
Actually, no, I didn't prove your point, actually. Because I made this abundantly clear that, like, especially like when it comes to the Nasser hospital, where the journalist I actually brought up, where he was bombed, where they blew him up, and aid workers being blown up, but they actually wasn't being used as a military location, and they killed these guys. Essentially, I mean, you still have an answer to that. You say, "Oh, well, they apologized for that." And one, no, you answered to it. But the thing is, like, it wasn't being, it wasn't actually being used as a military target. They were actually evacuating people out of there.
They raided that hospital 2 times prior because Hamas.
But it wasn't being used as an active target. That's the difference.
No, this is what's funny. He's actually lying again, because once again, this is from the NGO Monitor. This is going to be directly quoting Hamas. This is Hamas saying this, explicitly states that healthcare facilities in Gaza are not neutral spaces, but instead play a critical role in Hamas's network. Hamas officials expressed alarm at the prospect of hostile parties gathering intelligence at medical facilities, since these are places that serve the wounded and operation facilities, and hold sensitive positions in defense of the resistance. And they are places where are gathered enduring times of escalation. One more. In addition, they describe medical facilities as places gathering for many commanders of the movement, i.e. Hamas and the government, in times of escalation. So Hamas is specifically stating they don't consider them to be neutral grounds, and that's from the NGO Monitor, who's a unbiased reporting organization. And I think Hamas. You could go, well, cool, but they're the ruling body. And when we're talking about a war and whether or not we should support Israel or cut ties, guess what? I'm not going to fault Israel for fighting a war against a group that's hiding in hospitals, and we have evidence. And so when I have evidence from Hamas themselves, you, sir, are either lying or ignorant. And guess what? It seems like probably both. So I'm just saying, it's pretty clear that you don't know what you're talking about. And when we get back to the further subject of whether we should cut ties to Israel, we can look at examples where these other people have gone. In Jordan's one of our most powerful allies in the region, right? Guess what? They took in a ton of Palestinian refugees, and they almost got overthrown. Jordan's one of our own allies against Iran, against Iraq beforehand, against Syria. And guess what? Syria is the weakest it's ever been. Israel's claiming land there, defending minorities like the Druze from Al-Qaeda back and former ISIS groups. We have, Iraq was a client state, basically, Iran, but now they're back to being in our good graces because Iran's the weakest it's ever been, and Iran's the weakest it's ever been because Israel whooped that ass. And guess what? Iran's part of the axis of evil with our adversarial powers, Russia, China, and North Korea, and potentially a couple other countries. And guess what? Whenever one of them takes such a beating and they back all of Israel's enemies, guess what? I'm not going to go team Iran and team whatever. I'm going to go, hell yeah, keep up the good work, Israel, because they're taking out the people that hate us.
Okay, that was all just a big old gish gallop that had absolutely
nothing to do with the topic. Listen, maybe you should follow a line of thought then.
I was following, but it had first things first. Okay, you've had your little spiel, but
I know this is your first time debating, but try to follow along.
Okay, sir, you and I have debated before. This is not the first time.
I guess it was so bad I didn't remember it, but go ahead.
Yeah, okay. You didn't. Okay, maybe you just don't have very good memory. But first things first, okay. When it comes down to Israel, like we're talking about, like Israel, like when I talk about cutting ties with Israel, we're talking about like them actually not just the fact that they're committing a genocide, which I actually has abundantly clear and proven that they're committing genocide because of every organization that's out there, like whether it's human rights organizations, even Israel, even Israeli generals admit that they're committing genocide. But that doesn't matter to Gibbs. He doesn't give a shit about facts. He just was, let's see what Hamas has to say. But
I just listed facts.
Okay,
I
sir,
just listed a report from an unbiased, monitored organization. Did I do that or did I not?
Okay, now it's my turn to speak. Okay, you can hush now. Okay,
well,
so
don't say lies.
I'm not saying lies.
You're saying I didn't say facts. I just said facts.
No. Okay, sir. Did Israel have Israeli generals come out and said that what's happening right now in Gaza and Palestine is a genocide? Yes or no?
I don't fucking know I don't know every
of course
but I do. I tell you what I do know. I tell you what I do know. Hamas, the group that you just backed, just said Hamas is sitting here saying Hamas is saying they don't consider their sites neutral. So when you're sitting here, why would hold on? You tell me if a military is fighting another military force and one military says this is not a neutral site, why would the other military respect that and say, oh, we play by one rule and they play by another? Why would they do that? That's just stupidity. You got an answer for that or no?
No. First things first.
No, you don't have an answer. I got it.
Sir, okay, Gibbs, I'm trying to answer a question, but if you just shut up for a second, okay? I don't support Hamas, but the thing is, you don't justify one action with what another action of another group is doing. I don't support Hamas, but the thing is, I don't
fight someone if they don't attack the target. If Hamas is using that for a military gathering place,
so it's okay. If Israel performs act of war, that's basically a war crime. That's okay for you because Hamas does it, right?
That's not. Bro, okay, listen.
I asked you a question, yes or no. Just answer the fucking question.
Yeah, it's a dumb question, and this is why
it's not a dumb question. It's consistency,
which is real simple. It's real simple.
Okay, you're trying to strong man me and saying that I support Hamas, which I don't support Hamas.
If one military is fighting another military,
answer my question.
Well, you brought up the hospitals, and we're talking about the hospitals, right? Yeah, cool. So if one person is a military group and they're fighting another military group, and one military group says, oh, hospitals are neutral ground, and the other military group says, fuck no, we're putting our commanders there, is the other military group just going to leave them alone, or should they actually be able to fight without their hands tied?
Well, first things first, as somebody that's actually been in a situation like this, there has to be confirmed targets, essentially. That's the difference in this situation.
You were in the Israeli military?
I wasn't in the Israeli military.
So then you don't know what the combat doctrine is. Cool, thanks. All right, cool.
Sir, I was actually in the military. Were you in the military?
No, I wasn't, but that doesn't matter because once again,
really?
I'm not claiming to know Israeli combat doctrine. Do you know Israeli combat?
Okay, strong man
you don't. So you're a strong man argument. Just because you were a private in the army doesn't mean you know all the same as the generals know.
Stop.
That's ludicrous.
Sir, this is not Israeli doctrine. This is in the Geneva Conventions, actually. You need to understand.
So you're admitting you don't know what the Israeli doctrine is. You're just making shit up.
It's not an Israeli doctrine, sir. It's Geneva Conventions.
And when one group's not following the Geneva Convention, what the fuck do you do?
And I've already made this abundantly clear, actually.
You fight with your hands tied and let them kill your people? Yeah, cool. Good.
Yeah. Nice straw man argument. I didn't make that argument, but you keep on just like no, that's not the argument I'm making. Actually, I said the targets have to be confirmed, which they actually haven't been confirmed except by the Israeli military, but they haven't released any of the findings in the
Israeli military. Okay, of course, that's a big caveat right there.
And again, why is it the Israeli military isn't letting journalists from the outside come in to view the combat zone? Essentially. I want to give this.
Do we let journalists in all combat zones?
Yes.
Absolutely not.
Yes.
Was there journalists on that beat?
I'm sorry, gentlemen. I do remember telling you to keep the interruptions to a minimum.
I'm sorry,
I can't
Sarah.
hear you on that point. Chill it down a little bit. Take it level down, just a nudge. You're so close to the tail end of this. I can taste it, but let's actually get through it.
Okay, so I got the answer to that one for you. Israel is letting journalists into the war zone. They're not letting journalists into the war zone without IDF accompanying them. They do about 10 to 20 tours per year around different parts of non-combatant areas of Gaza. They've been letting them in. Opposing journalists, they've been letting Al Jazeera in. It was funded by Qatar. That's extremely anti-Israel. They're letting their opposition in. What Hamas does is kills anybody that isn't Hamas sanctioned and it's a reporter. That's why they have to have an IDF escort, because Hamas has been murdering all journalists. On top of that, you said Israel's been killing journalists. 30 of the journalists that have died entered Israel on October 7th with Hamas. I think it was 32. I have to check the document to get the exact number. 32 journalists entered Israel on that attack. So these journalists are Hamas approved, Hamas affiliated. We have multiple news organizations like the AP was covering up that they were actually getting news from known members of Hamas. So they ended up firing a bunch of U.S. News companies ended up firing all their journalists out of the Gaza region because they were all Hamas. Like this happened a few years ago. It's all in the document as well.
Okay, Israel is not allowed independent journalists to freely enter Gaza since the war began. The Foreign Press Association petitioned Israel's Supreme Court for access. The court rejected it, leaving the access at the army's discretion, essentially. So, no, that's not true. Go ahead, Prime.
Yeah. So again, what Tyler wants to do is obfuscate, right? He's got a long list of random links, guys, and somewhere deep in there, right, might be the information you're looking for. But Tyler, right, being the coward that he is, doesn't actually want to provide it to you. Okay, right. So I looked through the links that Sarah. Hello, Sarah. Was so kind to provide, right? Because she did the work that Tyler was too lazy or too duplicitous not to do, right? So anyway, I looked through his links, and here is some choice quotes from that, right? So he talks about the BBC article. Okay. They're sort of like not bury the headline, no proof is provided within any of these articles. Not that I've seen. If I missed it, I do apologize, right? BBC article says, Jonathan Whitehall, the head of the UN's humanitarian office for the occupied Palestinian territories, also said there was no evidence that Hamas was delivering aid coordinated through credible humanitarian channels. He said the real theft of relief goods since the beginning of the war has been carried out by criminal gangs, which the Israeli army, quote unquote, allowed to operate in proximity to the Kerem Shalom crossing point in Gaza, end quote. Which is that claim is something that Alex made quite a bit ago. Yeah, it's gangs allowed by Israel, sometimes paid by Israel. These gangs are the ones who are stealing. There's no evidence that Hamas specifically is stealing. Times of Israel. In this article, Blinken makes the claim as well, right? Basically, he takes Israel's word and he makes a claim that Hamas is stealing that aid, right? But later on in the article, it says in February, the U.S. diplomat who was then involved in humanitarian assistance for Gaza denied allegations that Hamas stole aid and commercial shipments into the enclave, saying that no Israeli official had presented him or the Biden administration with quote-unquote specific evidence of diversion of theft of assistance, right? Remember, these are the links that Tyler has provided, right? Once again, very familiar. We're going down this road with him again. But the next line, right, I'll acknowledge this. In the next line, he says, at the same time, the same official, he acknowledged that Hamas has used other aid delivery channels to, quote unquote, shape where and to whom assistance goes. At least I didn't see. If I missed it, I do apologize. It doesn't state what those delivery channels were. Like, are these aid trucks? It seems to be not aid trucks, something else. What delivery channels? I don't know, but whatever. And our friend, our friend Sarah, right, provided another link, right? And this is from the MR Online. And it says, just so you understand where Blinken is coming from, first paragraph. From the very beginning of Israel's assault on the Gaza Strip, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken had his hands on the steering wheel. After October 7th, Blinken was the first senior U.S. official to arrive in Israel on October 11th, right? I'm going with a very simple and clear message. The United States has Israel's back, Blinken reportedly said boarding the plane. And that had never changed. Not in any time during the assault. The United States, right, the State Department, which Blinken was the head of, had Israel's back the entire time. So when the State Department simply repeats, again, without providing any proof, if I missed it, I do apologize, right? Tyler was too duplicitous to actually point out in his document where I should be looking at. But no evidence actually provided. Israel simply states it, and then the State Department repeats it. But when you talk to actual State Department officials, right, when there's actual reporting from people below the executive level, they're like, yeah, no evidence was provided ever, right? New York Times reporting, no evidence provided, right? By Israeli officials saying there was no evidence we provided. So once again, still looking for that proof.
Okay, well, Isaac, as I said, I provided 8 citations on this. You went into the BBC document that was talking about Hamas reselling flour and looked for proof of trucks being stolen. I just posted 4 more in there that show proof of trucks being stolen by Hamas. If you go into one citation to look for 18 different claims that I made in a document that has 200 citations in it, you're not going to find them all. No, hold on. I'll let you get your whole spiel out. Hold on, I'll let you get. You made 3 claims there. You went through one document or looking for something that wasn't in that document. You can look at my shit, man. I have 2 lines of writing and then a citation under it. Then 2 more lines of writing and then a citation. It's very broken down so that even somebody that just reads headlines like you can understand. But there's 8 sources all backing what I claim in different various ways. Each of them is well broken down. Sarah was nice enough to grab you 2 of them, but I have multiple more that I just posted in chat for you.
Yeah. So once again, Tyler hides within his document rather than
I hide behind my facts.
Well, it's like hold on. Without providing the links, right? He says, "Well, why didn't you look through all my links?" And now afterwards, after I've gone through it, he says I can't read past the headlines. I actually did. I literally read through his documents, right? Read through the articles provided, pulled out the quotes, right? That directly contradict his point. Right, but he says I can't view it. Now he's actually done the work, right? Thank you for providing some links. I'm going to look through these other articles, right? And again, I'm going to look for evidence that Hamas has been stealing the aid, which is the thing that I'm responding to, right? Not I didn't respond to 3 other points or 18 points, right? Simply that 1 point. Simply 1 point, because Tyler, you gish gallop all around. You throw out all kinds of crazy.
Well, you're doing your research.
And then you just say that yes, it's somewhere in the document, right? Somewhere within my Google Doc, right? You might find evidence of that, and then take your time and look through that and get back to me and whenever you. I'll do it.
Hold on, Tyler.
No problem. Don't worry. I'm going to go through it again because I know you're a liar.
Well, while you do that, while you do that,
if you actually cared, you know this shit.
That won't be provided. You liar.
Well, while y'all do that, y'all go about that, I just want to remind everybody of what the prompt was, which is whether or not the U.S. should cut ties with Israel, and that they are taking the affirmative on this, right? And the arguments they've made have been, Hamas did X, Y, Z bad, Hamas did whatever, and they haven't really fucking given us any argument as to why that would be beneficial for us to cut ties with Israel, except for one, which is, the Muslims will like us more, which I proved dating all the way back to 1786. They don't give 2 fucks about that, and they're going to come for us anyway. So the point that I'm making here with this current statement is to echo my words of Prime for the first 45 minutes when he was a little bit quieter than I anticipated was I don't give a shit about any of this because, hey, guess what? It doesn't fucking matter to the overall debate, the prompt. We're the neg. All we have to do is prove that, hey, it's better not to cut sides, and they've given you one benefit, and we've given you about 50 fucking different benefits, and I've gone from the important, like regional benefits, the multipolarity, hey, they actually are tied to us economically, the technology advances, all the way down to, I know Prime's going to hate this because he hates religion, all the way down to, if you're a Christian, you should be supporting Israel. I've given a litany of reasons to support Israel, and what I would like to call what's happening right now is a country ass whooping, because they're not sitting here even defending the prompt, they're just saying Israel bad.
So was that it? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Prime.
So do you remember this like bait and switch, Alex, right? So I start saying, hey, why don't we just focus on the focus on the prompt, right? Hey, about should we cut off aid to Israel, right? And then they say, well, you ignored our 45 minutes of throwing out literally no evidence that the genocide isn't happening, right? You didn't deal with any of those claims, right? It must show that you're wrong, right? Then I engage with one of their claims, right? And then as soon as I do that, then I was like, well, actually, I don't care about this anymore, right? That case that I was making for 45 minutes that you had dismissed, that you tried to move us past, right? Well, now I don't want to do that anymore. Instead, I actually want to get back to the topic. Okay, nice try, Gibbs, right? Gibbs, I can do it any which way, right? I can provide you reasons why the United States should cut off the aid. I got a whole list of those reasons. That's not an issue, right? We can do either one. It's just that we got limited time here. And again, Tyler, right, being the coward that he is, wants to hide behind a wall of links, right, within a document that he demands that you look through rather than actually just providing the links, right? He demands that you do that work. And so I'm just trying to track down all the constant bad faith in this particular individual.
So the
Right.
prompt,
So I'm working on that right now.
Hold on, the prompt here is, should we cut ties with Israel? Not, is Prime's vagina hurting and we're going to hear him make ad homs for 45 minutes. So the fact that you're taking this massive L and all you can do is insult me, insult Gibbs, and rant about Trump tells me that you are extremely upset right now. This is
I don't think Prime's insulted me.
We haven't even mentioned Trump, actually. That's the part.
Of course, Gibbs. Of course, I haven't insulted you.
We haven't mentioned
right.
Trump,
I was a coward, and I have insulted him.
Here's the thing. Let's do this. Let's do this because we are at the tail end, and you guys are starting to get into more rowdy functions about the meta of the conversation. So let's go ahead and we'll move into closing statements, and that way, when you guys get to open panel, I'm not going to be as frustrated. Gibbs, would you like to kick us off with your closing statement?
Sure. Yeah, I would love to. Thank you so much. Yeah, once again, thanks for having me. Thank you, Alex and Prime, for debating with me tonight, and thank you, Tyler, for being my partner. I look forward to the open. Yeah. So generally, I would say, despite some, perfidious lies and maybe unsupported evidence, once again, the prompt, we're the neg. All you have to do as the neg on a debate is to disprove or cast enough doubt and aspersion onto what they're saying. We provided a litany of reasons why we should continue to support Israel. It's all the way down to whenever they talk about aid. I've gone into detail about how we get paid back from a lot of this. Our technology improves. We're seeing real tangible results right now with both the F-15I and the F-35I, and we're seeing how they're being used in real-world combat systems against a near-peer in an adversary. We're seeing with the Iron Dome, they brought up how much expensive it was for all these missiles. Well, who makes those missiles? We do. That's American jobs, benefits right there. Guess what? We're selling that to them. We're getting more tech. We're getting real-time, real-world experience against fighting other people at a smaller scale than we would have to. These are all benefits. We can talk about the semiconductors. They're the second biggest semiconductor person after Taiwan. There's a ton of other reasons. Saudi Arabia is normalizing relations now with Israel. Israel's sitting here. They're the ones who were attacked. We're sitting here pro-Ukraine. I'm pro-Ukraine because, I think Russia's the evil empire, and they invaded. But guess what? All of a sudden, Hamas invades Israel, and it's lordy. And like I said, if we go back all historically, everything Prime said and Alex said about, the Muslim countries would leave us alone, I can go back all the way throughout time. There's a reason why all these people, all these religious groups have been fighting forever. It's because they all want to dominate the other. And guess what? It's not going to stop just because we stop supporting Israel. That's a lie. Everybody with a half a brain knows that. It's all crazy talk. And once again, I would just like to point out, we're the only ones. We provided a bunch of reasons. We're the only ones, Tyler and I, and the only thing they've come up with, Israel bad, Israel mean. And guess what? Even when they talk about all these genocide things, it becomes questionable. Well, guess what? Of 36 hospitals, 70% were destroyed. And arguably, we have evidence that most of those were used by military operations. And guess who gave us that evidence? Hamas gave us that evidence. So Hamas is telling you they're doing it. I'm just saying, it seems like their argument needs to be with the leaders of the Palestinian people in that region, not with Israel. Back Israel. Somebody of the Zionist movement, send me some money. Thank you.
Fair enough. Thank you, Gibbs. And Tyler, to you.
So being the internet version of Iron Dome here, I want to say I think Gibbs and I did a very great job of refuting a lot of these half claims that were made tonight. So looking at each of the two individuals here, I want to restate the prompt. It's, should we cut ties with Israel? Not who's a coward, who's a hypocrite, and is Trump doing something he didn't run on? These were arguments that were made for about 15 minutes of, I guess we all get about 40 minutes of talking time, and then about 10 minutes dispelling anti-Semitism. That's cheap bait. That's a debate tactic. The fact that somebody spent that much time dispelling it tells me that maybe it meant a little more to them than they're putting on, but it's a cheap debate tactic to waste your time, and you just bit that bait because you're emotional. You're emotional. You don't have facts on your side. So we started out with about 45 minutes just disputing the claims of genocide, famine, occupation. All of those are completely refuted based on the plan that Israel has accepted to end the war. These things are gone. I had a ton of unchallenged claims, like the 12 kids that they were saying were dying of famine. It turns out they all had illnesses that were exposing the bones. I made a bunch of claims about Israel stealing aid. Somebody looked at the wrong citation and said, well, it's not in that one, so I guess it doesn't exist. And we went on that for 10 minutes as well. But most of my points were left on the table. Alex, I will give you credit for at least trying to address these things straight up. You did go into genocide. I will say Gibbs was right. Your questionnaire leading us down the context-free questions really didn't do much for me, but at least you tried to address it. So also, I want to get back to what I said about the news. There are 10 to 20 tours of every news outlet that applies going into Gaza every year. It's up to the military. That's what the courts decided. It's up to the military. They need to have a military escort to enter a war zone that's under Israel's control. There's nothing crazy about that. The United States does the same thing. You're not allowed to just walk into a war zone unannounced. You have to have a military escort. And that's all this is. They are still letting 10 to 20 tours in a year. This is it's in my doc as well. So if you didn't do the debate prep enough to not know, again, most of these facts that I'm telling you, then really you gotta ask, why are you even in a debate about this if you don't care enough to research the topic at all? It's not my job to educate you mid-debate because you couldn't lift a finger because you don't actually care as much as you let on for clicks. So I will say, I think that the argument here in terms of backing Israel is they beat Iran. Iran is the funder of drones to Russia, is the funder of energy to China. Keeping them completely limited has been a massive net positive. They're not going to just go away. The people that call us the great Satan in Iran aren't just going to forgive us if we don't back Israel, because nations that aren't backing Israel and declaring for a Palestinian state still see Islamic radical terrorism more often than the United States does. It's not about us intervening in the Middle East. It never has been, because if it was, they'd be going after Russia the same way, who intervened before us. We stepped in there after the USSR went in. So we can say all you want about all these standards and what we've talked about here, but at the end of the day, I think Gibbs and I did a fantastic job at refuting that. He did the narratives and I did the point by point on the facts. And then if you just watch this over and look how many things I claimed that never got addressed, there's no way that you could say that we lost this. It's just 90% of my points were just unmet. So have at it.
Thank you, Tyler. And Prime, to you, please.
Thank you for having me, Sarah. It was awfully kind of you to invite me. So I appreciate it. I appreciate my fellow participants, except for Tyler, who's a fucking coward, right? So Tyler, throws out throws out an implication of bigotry, and then when you try to respond to that, he says, now you're emotional for responding to my character attack. That's okay, right? Tyler, the liar, right, says that I didn't invite him back after the last time I beat his ass in a debate, right, on this very subject. I can provide you screenshots showing I actually did invite him back. He was too much of a coward to show up again. That's okay, all right? But getting back to the points at hand, so Tyler did make a whole list of points, but as we've shown specifically, we're talking about Hamas stealing aid convoys, right? When you actually push them, when you actually say, hey, well, let's see the evidence that you provide, all right, that you have available. He doesn't actually want to provide that, right? He wants to hide behind, right? We've seen this before with Tyler, right? He provides links that don't actually say what he says they do, right? You just take the time, do the debate, and go through it, right? Obviously, you wouldn't know what those links are beforehand, so how could you prepare without knowing his own links previously? But it's whatever, right? Still, and actually discussing this, yes, going to the topic at hand, which I wanted to focus on. They wanted to talk about the genocide. I didn't want to at the start, and then they criticized me for it. It's okay. But, discussing that, yeah, Israel is a rogue nation. Like I said previously, that wasn't addressed. One of my points wasn't addressed. I guess that means I win. Israel is a rogue nation. Israel attacks its neighbors, right? Another point that I made, but it wasn't addressed. So I guess I win. Israel paints a target on America's back. Another point I made, but it wasn't addressed. I guess I win. That's how debates work. Israel makes the world more dangerous for Americans. Israel is a money sink, right? As I said previously, a point that was addressed and proven correct was that Israel is the biggest recipient of American military aid. It's a hog, and it's completely unwarranted. It provides us with literally nothing, right? Unless you think, like my friend Gibbs does, and I acknowledge that, that in itself is a means to an end, right? Or justification of the means would be to provide some jobs within the defense industry. But I think lots of other people don't, right? If you think that we could use that money, that $300 billion, right, in your neighborhoods, in your communities, then you agree with me, right? That aid belongs, that money belongs to Americans. Certainly not a country that lead us into the Iraq War. Another claim that I made that wasn't addressed. I guess I win. So I appreciate everyone here. Again, against Tyler, I don't appreciate cowards. But shout out to everyone else. I'll stick around if people want to say something to me. But thank you, Sarah. Sorry. Final. I never shot myself out. Prime Kai, PRIMECAYS. I should have done this before. Gibbs did this. I didn't previously. But at Prime Kai, as spelled on the screen, on YouTube and Twitch. If you like me, come hit me up. Right. We have panels. We'll have a panel on Monday. Right. Our friend Gibbs will be there, right, Gibbs?
Yes, I'll be there this time for sure.
He'll be there. We have a lot of fun. Come sign up. You won't see Tyler because he's too much of a coward to show up again. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Prime. And Alex, to you.
All right. So first things first, Sarah, thank you so much for accepting this prompt. I do appreciate it. And I want to thank all the panelists. Prime, thank you so much for being my partner. And thank you to Tyler and Gibbs for taking part in this debate. So, ladies and gentlemen, tonight's debate was never about just choosing between Israel and Hamas. It was about choosing between complicity and conscience. It was about deciding whether a nation that claims to stand for human rights will keep funding a war machine that has turned Gaza into a graveyard, which is true. Now, I've heard my opponents talk about self-defense, security, terrorism, the military-industrial complex, but those words crumble against the reality that every humanitarian organization on earth, like the United Nations, the Amnesty International, Doctors Without Borders, Human Rights Watch, UNICEF, Save the Children, even B'Tselem, which is an Israeli organization, has called what's happening in Gaza a crime against humanity, and in many reports, a genocide. Now, I tried to bring up genocide, but certain panelists said, "Oh, well, this is such a stupid word game," but it was actually consistent. Now, we have watched in real time as neighborhoods became craters, as aid convoys were bombed, as hospitals were shelled, and as parents buried their children in plastic bags because there were no coffins left over. That's not self-defense. That is considered annihilation. Now, once again, we are paying for it. $3.8 billion every year, which I actually brought up that we could actually take that funding and put it towards the American public, but that was mocked and laughed at out of the room, essentially. So much for pro-America. More than we give to any other nation on earth. Money that could build schools here at home instead builds blockades abroad. Money that buys bombs instead of bread. We trade with dozens of allies without funding their armies. The UK, Japan, Germany, Canada, France, South Korea. Yet Israel alone receives this blank check. Now, why is that? Now, my opponents will ask, but what about Hamas? I condemn Hamas. I condemned it throughout this debate, and I condemn every act of terror they've committed. But condemning Hamas does not mean excusing genocide. Both can be wrong at the same time. And when Israel uses the language of defense to justify the starvation of 2 million people, when its own defense minister said, no electricity, no food, no fuel, that's not defense. That's actually deliberate cruelty. They tell you that the famine isn't real, yet the World Food Program and UNICEF confirm that children are dying of hunger in northern Gaza. They'll tell you it's Hamas stealing aid, but even U.S. intelligence, our U.S. intelligence agency, admits there's no verified evidence of systemic theft from Hamas. Just aid convoys blocked and bombed. They call it relocation, but the Geneva Convention calls it what it is, forced displacement. When a people are starved, displaced, and slaughtered, the vocabulary doesn't matter. The outcome does, which we have actually seen. Cutting ties with Israel isn't abandoning an ally, it's abandoning the hypocrisy. True friendship doesn't mean silence, it means accountability. We cut ties with apartheid South Africa, not because we hated its people, but because we loved justice more than comfort. We said, never again. Are we going to let never again become just just this one time, essentially. Now, some warn that if we stop funding Israel, Iran or China might fill the gap, but refusing to bankroll atrocities isn't surrender. It's leadership. We don't outcompete authoritarian regimes by imitating them. We lead by example. If, and I remember Tyler bringing this up, if China's persecution of Uyghur Muslims disqualifies them from rebuilding Gaza, then Israel's actions disqualify it from destroying it, essentially. The U.S. has made mistakes, Iraq and Afghanistan, and those scars should have taught us that endless wars and occupation never bring peace. They only create the next generation of extremists. If you learn from those mistakes, then we must act differently now. Tonight, I'm not asking for vengeance. I'm asking for values, for us to stop writing checks with our conscience and calling it foreign policy. Because every bomb we fund, every blockade we defend, every child we starve, that's not Israel's moral failure alone. That is also ours. Ladies and gentlemen, history is watching. Every generation is judged by the genocide it ignored. Let's make sure ours isn't this one. It's time to say enough. No more blank checks. No more excuses. No more complicity. Vote for the motion. Cut ties with Israel because the price of silence is measured in lives, and we've already paid too many. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Perfect. Thank you, gentlemen. And of course, I'm going to go ahead and drop the link for the open panel dumpster fire. So if anyone would like to jump on and continue on asking the participants more questions and starting their own war here on this screen, you're more than welcome to start hopping backstage to begin to sit back there for that. All right. And Mama Tomato, of course, got her membership on compliments of Chef Dylan. Thank you so kindly. P. Fletch says to remember to tip your hostess. Yes, please. And thank you. Powder Dusty says Lord Admiral Gibbs looks dapper this evening. No homo.
I saw when it came up. I appreciate Dusty, but lots of homo. How you doing? I'm just kidding.
Well, then when
you
you
look good.
When you added the cat in, it was like giving Dr. Evil vibes.
That's what I was
Because you're
going for.
sitting there in your chair and you're just like caressing your kitty cat.
I was going for the Bond villain, yeah.
It worked
What was the corporate one? The Czar? The Elon Musk before Elon Musk was a thing? Y'all remember him? I can't remember. Moonraker's bad guy. Whatever.
Fair enough. Oh, excuse me. Kokomo sends 15 for Nyx. Some of you have seen my post recently. Nyx had surgery number 1 on her right knee just recently. And just in the final week of her recovery, she blew out her left knee. So now she will be getting surgery on her left knee. It is a common thing that happens. So it was just kind of bound. We were just a matter of waiting for that left side to go. But thank you for all of the donations that are coming in for her. Steve says, just because. Thank you so kindly. Old School getting his new membership. Welcome to the club, my friend. Daniel says, praise Jesus, heal Nyx. Thank you. And Old School says, donation to heal a pet. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All right, to you guys. Vincent says, we should, although that community aren't all aligned politically, they are almost all Zionist. LGBTs like Dave Rubin and Peter Thiel to religious like Ben Shapiro, and they don't like Jesus. Any thoughts?
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Cool.
I don't really under.
Okay.
I don't know what to say to that, honestly.
I don't know what to say to that either. I'm looking confused.
Sorry, I'm a little confused. Sorry, by this. Could you help me out with this?
Are they like saying that they're the Illuminati? Is that what they're saying?
Well, the Illuminati's sitting here, like it's like I don't know how to answer that, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I'm really
yeah, LGBT, so gay people like Dave Rubin, Peter Thiel, it's religious like Ben Shapiro, and they don't like Jesus. I don't know. Is Dave Rubin a Christian? I think he is. Peter Thiel, I don't. Might be the Antichrist, but I don't. Ben Shapiro is Jewish, but I don't think he hates Jesus. But
I couldn't care less whether they hated Jesus or not. Honestly, that I have no idea what that has to do with anything. Honestly,
Yeah, thank you for supporting Sarah. I do appreciate
Yeah,
you doing
absolutely.
that.
Yes. Keep sending money to Sarah, please.
He's got more. He's got more. So he says, their intentions are clear. Restore Holy Land, build the third temple to bring the coming of their Messiah. They have openly said this. They are ruining the West, destroying Christianity.
Who is
Maybe
that?
they're making a statement about American evangelicals, who I think they're doing exactly that.
He's talking about Zionists.
I mean, yeah, but no, they're Christian Zionists as well, right?
Oh, wow.
So yeah, maybe. But again, maybe he's talking about Jewish Zionists. If he is, then I apologize. But if you're talking about Christian Zionists, well, then I would agree that narrowly here that they are being destructive towards the West because now they tied us to this barbaric country that is starting these wars, starting these conflicts with the idea that it'll start a larger incident that will bring Jesus back, in a sea of Jewish and Muslim blood, which I am not in support.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say real quick. I mean, I'm not sure. I kind of agree. Like maybe that's his assessment that Prod said. It's either that or it's the real far one, which is that he wants the return of King Baldwin, and he thinks there's a third option, and that's crusade, and we should just make it a new Christian empire under the Americas and conquer the region instead of letting these groups have it. That could be what he might be saying. I'm not sure. He's been a little bit confusing in both messages I've read so far, but if you want to do the American crusade, I'm on board with the new American empire taking over the world. So come to the team empire, I guess.
I think it's more questioning the Judeo-Christian bond that exists and saying that the Judeo-Christian bond of Zionism is what's destroying Christianity in the West. And I mean, that's part of being Christian, man. We were talking about this in the group chat, the Old Testament, the guy whose donkey yelled at him. What was the name of it?
Balaam.
Yeah, the king told him to curse Israel. Yeah, the king of Moab told him to curse Israel. And then God stopped his donkey, yelled at him through the donkey's mouth, and told him basically, like, you'll only go and do this if you praise Israel because those are my chosen people and blah, blah, blah. So Christians have a lot of theology that ties them to Judaism as well. So I thought that was already answered, but I don't know. I think that tie is great.
Was the donkey's name Eeyore by chance?
I'm not religious at all. I just kind of.
Me neither. So I'm just curious.
That's funny though.
All right. Perfect. Doobie, hi Doobie, says, how dare they hate us for testing our missiles on their families? Any thoughts?
I mean, I agree with my friend Doobie. I don't see why Gardens get so upset, right? When 2,000 pound bombs made by America, provided by them, my friend Gibbs is excited by that thought. Drops down on them, right? Like, why are they upset when we, not just the Gazans, but like the people in the region where Israel starts firing at their nations, right? Being the bully that they are. Their families get wiped out, right? In southern Lebanon, in Syria, in Iran, right? Again, during peace negotiations in quotes, right? Why do these people get upset? I don't understand it. I mean, they should be testing grounds for Western imperial might. And again, my friend Gibbs agrees.
I think that Tyler said it best though earlier, is that these are defensive weapons we sell to Israel. But like, I think that how dare they hate us for testing our missiles? Doobie, I'm so glad you articulated that point, because if I was an Israeli and I was having rockets shot at me by Hezbollah and Hamas daily, and maybe having to worry about Syria coming in every once in a while and the groups there attack me, I would also probably hate them for testing missiles on my family. That's why we wanted the Iron Dome built. I mean, I think that's a very good point you make, Doobie.
The point is, like, who's invading who right now? Is it Israel invading into Gaza, or is Gaza invading into Israel?
Well, October 7th will be an invasion into Israel. Thanks. So, yeah.
Establishment of deterrence.
Okay, well, first things first. I've already denounced October the 7th, but the fact of the matter is that Israel is invading into Gaza. True or false?
Well, yeah, they're going to take out the government body
that is no longer defensive.
It's no longer defensive for their attack. It's the fault of this war is on Hamas. Every single dead body is on Hamas, and if Hamas surrendered and put down their arms and it took full for their actions on October 7th, this war would stop tomorrow, as the peace deal that Israel agreed to. That does not include genocide, ethnic cleansing, or occupation from Israel. All these things are dispelled by what's actually written.
Well, even though Ben Gvir and Smotrich have actually made this abundantly clear, they don't even give a shit about the hostages. They've actually just want a scorched earth, and that's exactly what's happening. Like, that's why I brought up the fact that they destroyed entire city blocks.
It's not.
No, we can deal with Tyler's claim directly, right? So Tyler's talking about within the peace deal, the 20-point plan that Donald Trump put out. That this shows that Israel never wanted one, to ethnically cleanse, right? Sorry, what was the other claim that you made? One, they don't want to ethnically cleanse. It also
genocide, occupation, ethnic cleansing.
Well, they're kind of all the same thing, for our purposes, right?
Yeah,
for our purposes now. So I would say that, we've seen literally the ethnic cleansing happening, within the conflict, and that they pushed everyone out of northern Gaza into southern Gaza, right, to be safe, right, to safe zones that they keep bombing nonstop. I'd say that yes, Israel quote unquote agreed to this plan, but Israel has agreed to a bunch of other plans in the past, and they have broken those deals, most famously under the Trump administration, where Trump, to his credit, helped institute a ceasefire, right? Who broke that? Israel broke that. Israel cannot be trusted. Israel is a rogue state, again, that doesn't care about international law and doesn't care about the agreements that it goes against. And then Netanyahu said in statement afterwards, right? So then this is a common tactic, Israeli tactic, from the officials, right? Is that they say one thing to the English audience, and then in Hebrew they say literally the exact opposite. And so the Gaza deal requires a security buffer, right? That in the third stage, the forces will be pushed back, right? They'll have a small security buffer in Gaza, but IDF will leave. But Netanyahu says, no, we're not going to leave. Netanyahu talks about how this is a coup for them, and they're just going to ignore all these things. And I wouldn't be surprised, because once again, they keep breaking their word.
All right. And I've got two that came in on the Buy Me a Coffee app. Harry Ludwig sends $5 just to show support. Thank you so kindly. And Adam sent $5 to say, y'all just mop the floors with these Zionists. It's hilarious watching them cope as if they came even close to winning. Israel is a terrorist state, and y'all have no evidence for any of your points. Any
I mean,
watch it. All I'm gonna say is watch it back, because I saw the.
Yeah, I that's fine. I feel like, this is it's funny, the no evidence thing that keeps coming up. Like, we can argue about different facts. This is kind of why when I brought up evidence, and I don't think anybody really disputed the evidence I brought up. It was all specifically from sources we all agree on. Like, I picked what was the one earlier, the NGO, whatever organization that monitors rights, and then that was quoting Hamas's direct comments and direct things, direct charters and all these different things. And it's whenever we provide specific evidence, then someone comes in with a dumbass comment like that. After Tyler, I know that Prime takes issues with his thousands of quotes, and citations or whatever. I'm a little bit in between. I think that we can have some quotes, we have some not, but I don't think that you can say the guy that dropped 200 fucking citations isn't providing evidence, and then the other guy, whenever he pretty much posted, I said sources that no one really disputed, they just disputed, what that meant. I don't think that's also not a specific source. So sorry, but you're wrong.
All right. And then Vincent says, Gibbs, name one name one war they helped us on. Name one thing they shared with us. There is a list of things they stole from us, though, and wars they didn't help us in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue specifically they were going and coming helping us in other wars. They're a country the size of New Jersey. I mean, how much can they really do? And they don't have the imperialist background that, say, like the UK does, where they conquered half the world being a country the size of New Jersey. I will say that their benefits, they do have boots on the ground with us. We've been trained with them several times. We've done all sorts of missions with them. We have a technological trade with them. We have them in our F-35 and F-15 programs. They have their own variants that we've now copied some stuff from and are building more advanced stuff. They've also allowed us to build better drone defense tech, since the Iranians love drones, as we see the Iranian drones, as Tyler mentioned, being used extensively in Ukraine. Honestly, this is a very sad take that I'm about to say, because lots of people are dying, but the U.S. is now much more prepared to defend itself than it was 5 years ago, because of both the Israel conflicts and the wars in Ukraine, because we're getting real-world, near-peer combat experience without us actually having to fight. This is all beneficial to us in the long run in regards to wars. So, yeah, I would say that, yeah, maybe they haven't fought directly with us in the war, but indirectly they've helped us more than maybe some of our partners, like, Tyler mentioned France, who originally wasn't involved in the war on terror. Then after they had their own terror incidents, suddenly started getting involved in Mali and Malta and all sorts of these other countries, like all over Africa. And there's a reason now why they pulled out and they've had to let Rwanda take over their contracts as a security thing. And this is the same kind of situation we have here with Israel. It's, we're getting our proxy nation to fight the battles for us, so we don't have to.
Well, it's amazing how he brings this up, because the fact that, like, he's talking about, like, how Israel has never actually supported us, even though Israel said, oh, well, this country, like, they talk about, like, how Iran was, like, 2 weeks away from building a nuclear warhead. They said that for, like, 20 plus years, and it was never true, actually. So the fact of the matter is, like, that they've never actually supported us in any wars, essentially. So that kind of goes out the window. There are smaller countries, like, I'm not talking like smaller in size, but like probably like smaller military size, like Estonia actually supported us in the war in Iraq. I know because I spoke with many members of the Estonian military. They would actually travel in and out of our FOBs at times. Like, the thing is, like, Israel has never actually supported us in any of our campaigns, but they've actually, like, tried to incite us into getting into conflicts. I mean, they've talked about, like, how Iran is like the biggest threat to us, but yet Iran is nowhere near a threat to the United States. Yeah, they've had proxies, but so is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is like one of the largest terror groups, essentially, for Wahhabic terrorism, essentially. Iran, I'm not saying I like Iran. I think the Iranian government is terrible. They've done horrible things. Thing is, like, Benjamin Netanyahu has said for decades how they are this close to building a nuclear warhead, when that's actually never truth. And actually, Iran was actually following the JCPOA until Trump pulls out of the JCPOA. And this is my first time mentioning Trump tonight. Thank you very much. But, like, he pulls out of it, then they started enriching Iran, and they started, like, breaking this whole idea. So, like, this whole concept, like, Israel's our greatest friend, is like, we can say this, but the fact of the matter is, like, they say they're the greatest democracy essentially out there, but, like, a democracy doesn't actually suppress people. A democracy actually supports entire civilian populations, essentially.
So I'd like to ask Tyler a question. This is a thing that I forgot when we were talking about the 20-point peace plan and Israel's acceptance of it, right? So in the peace plan, it says that, I think it's point 19, if I'm remembering correctly. But it talks about how, please go look it up. But it talks about how, once this plan is underway, right, we will begin, negotiations for Palestinian statehood, which we acknowledge that is a goal of the Palestinian people, right? Is it? You have said that Israel accepting, quote unquote, accepting this plan is proof that there is a shift in policy. So, is it your belief that this shows that now Israel is open to Palestinian statehood? That this is they've changed course, and now Palestinian statehood is actually on the table. Is that your belief?
No, that's not my belief. My belief is that has always been Israel's policy for the last 60 years, them participating in the Oslo Accords, them allowing the election of Hamas in the first place, and several other instances prove that they've always pushed for some sort of statehood. And if you look at the polling for the last 40 years out of Israel, the majority of the country, including the right wing, not the far right wing, that's Ben Gvir's party, but I have another point for you, Alex, on that later. Other than them, most of Israel wants these people to have statehood. Right now, even, they still say Israel, the two-state solution is the best solution, but Hamas has to be removed from power first. And America agrees on that. There should be no deal until Hamas is removed from power. So until the people that are responsible for the terror attack against Israel, where they targeted civilians, unlike what Israel does, they intentionally targeted civilians, kidnapped, sexually assaulted, beat. They took a 9-month-old boy, strangled him to death, and paraded him through the streets to hundreds of cheering people. Until that entity is removed from power, the two-state solution cannot happen. And as far as occupation goes, Israel has said multiple times the reason they pulled out in 2005 is because they did not want to do occupation. They withdrew, I think, 8,000 or 5,000 Jewish people that lived in Gaza, took them with them, said, you're coming with us, ethnically cleansed its own people out of Gaza and said, you know what, just take it. We're just going to put this limiting barrier on it. As terrorist attacks ramped up, that barrier got more and more, and then we got cookies being banned to punish them. I'm not going to say every action Israel did was good, and there were no cookie rockets. Destiny made that up. But like at the end of the day, statehood, two-state solution, and sovereignty for Palestine have always been on the table.
Okay, one second. Times of Israel. Knesset votes overwhelmingly against Palestinian statehood days before PM's U.S. trip, right? The Knesset late Wednesday voted overwhelmingly to pass a resolution rejecting the establishment of a Palestinian state. The resolution was co-sponsored by parties in Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition, together with right-wing parties from the opposition, and even received support from Benny Gantz's centrist National Unity Party.
Yep. Until Hamas is removed from power, yes.
And until Hamas is removed from power, indeed, right? Yeah. So I would say that the all signals from Israel, right, consistently is that one, we will say to our American allies, right, and to the world in general, that the two-state solution is on the table, right? As they are making that utterly impossible. So one, they vote against a Palestinian statehood directly, right? Directly. But then a defender says, well, it's just to Hamas. This person, then we can talk about that. But at the same time, right, in the West Bank, what are they doing? They're making the E1 settlement, right, which is acknowledged by Israeli officials, by the international community, right? This E1 settlement is a crossing a red line, because what it does, it splits up the West Bank, so it can't be you couldn't have any sort of contiguous jurisdiction, right? So that ends the two-state solution, which is why American presidents have stopped Israel for decades from actually building this project, right? So it is another evidence. Another piece of evidence that Israel never actually wanted a two-state solution, along with the rest of its outposts, right, and settlements within the West Bank, right. They were slowly choking off that possibility, but under the Trump administration, it's being ramped right up.
Well, I would argue that they had the right to take over Gaza since 1949, when they forced Egypt out of the land that was holding it in martial law at the time. And since then, they have had the right to remove mostly refugees. By definition, a refugee is not on land that belongs to them. They have had the land rights to Gaza that they won in a war that they did not start. So they could have kicked them out at any time. But their actions, Oslo was not just words, it was actions. They removed all the Jews from Gaza, withdrew the army, and said, you guys can have your own election. It's not going to be complete statehood yet, but it's a very large set of steps leading up to that. And this was in 2005.
Well, I need to, but like, Sarah, before you move on to the next super chat, we need to understand something really, really clearly, though, because like, just because they withdrew from Gaza doesn't mean that they actually didn't like release their grip from that area, because they actually control the borders into Gaza, all but one of the land crosses into Gaza. They basically, Israel has still complete full control. They control all the airspace, they control all the maritime access, they control all the economics and supplies going into Gaza. This is 100% factual. So honestly, they didn't withdraw from anything, essentially. And once again, because the fact of the matter is like, I brought up this point and it never actually got addressed, was the fact that when Qatar approached Israel about sending aid into Palestine, essentially, the Israeli government said, yes, keep sending it through into there, essentially, which is a really, really important point there, because I can all say this without a doubt. I think it's just because Benjamin Netanyahu wanted these things. The guy's already corrupt as shit. I mean, the guy is like already facing serious corruption charges, essentially. And like, this is just adding to it. I mean, like, that's something we never got into about all the war crimes that Netanyahu is actually complicit in, essentially. So, but go ahead, Sarah.
Well, I did, of course, say that he was wanted by International Criminal Court.
You did, but
war criminal.
It never got
into it, though.
Yeah, it never got into it, though. So.
All right, and I'm going to try to move along a little bit faster. We do have a full backstage back there waiting to come on. Doobie says, quick reminder that Israel's internal numbers leaked last month, and they listed an 83% civilian death rate as of May, with only 8,900 Hamas killed out of 53,000 total confirmed deaths.
Neither of those
Tyler,
numbers
you're
are
shaking
correct.
your head.
So
how are they not correct?
Because the 62,000 is actually what the number is. You got it wrong. It's 62,000. That comes from Gaza's health ministry.
That's even worse.
Which includes things like El Shifa Hospital and the Witkoff massacre that have been debunked. Those numbers are not true. They are adding to them with things that they blame Israel for that we know Israel did not do. When that IJF rocket landed in the parking lot of El Shifa Hospital, Hamas or Gaza Health Ministry reported 470 people died. That was not true. It was debunked like 2 days later. That's still in the death tolls, as well as the Witkoff massacre, which was 2 anonymous sources versus 4 Israeli recordings. One was a drone strike of the actual shootings that were going on, which Doobie said was fake. Israel doctored the tape when I debated him on this, and he took a big L. So on the 89,000, I brought that up earlier. That's a hacked database. Those are only Israel's already responded to this. They said those are only some of the people. Those are the ones they have confirmed. They have a whole nother data set of people that they think are Hamas actors that they have some proof of, but it's not enough to definitively say. And that's why they say 20,000. So what he's doing is accepting Hamas's numbers at face value and say we can't trust Israel because they've lied in the past, despite the fact that Hamas lies more.
It's interesting that you bring this up because the fact of the matter is like every single time, like Pierce Morgan, a guy that initially was in full support of Israel, actually talked about this topic. He actually brought in members of the Israeli government, and even they couldn't tell you. They could tell you how many Hamas they've killed, but they couldn't tell you how many innocent civilians have been killed essentially in this conflict essentially.
Yeah.
And that to me, that's troubling, honestly. How is it that the Israeli government is so 100% sure that they've killed so many Hamas, but they have no idea how many innocent civilians have killed? And like, here's the thing, everybody likes to break the fact, oh, well, that's collateral damage. It's so amazing how like we just like downgrade people that have been killed that had nothing to do with October the 7th. Like the people I brought at the very beginning of the debate, which never got addressed, honestly, they had nothing to do with October 7th, but they are just pretty much cast off the side and pretty much said, oh, well, Hamas did this. And I made it abundantly clear, I denounce everything Hamas did, but yet we're talking about the tens of thousands of people that have been brutally murdered by the Israeli government, and we're passing this off as nothing. That's shocking to me.
That's the thing is Hamas is the government of Gaza. You can't just denounce them and then that suddenly means that their actions don't exist. That suddenly means context doesn't exist anymore. Just denouncing the governing body and the most popular government force in Gaza doesn't suddenly make their actions go away. It doesn't suddenly make Israel's war of deterrence, which they're fighting right now, an invasion and occupation. That's the point, is when you're saying you denounce them, suddenly that makes you think you can get rid of all the context that led up to the point where Israel's actions, which are justified because this is not a war they started. They are removing a terrorist entity that wants to wipe them off the map and try to from power. That's absolutely fine. Any other country would do the same thing.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up context. Oh, sorry. If you want to move on, then I'll let you.
Actually, there was another super chat that came in that follows up with that, so we'll get back to it here shortly. Anthony says, having grifted in a minute for the dog surgery fund. Hope all is well. Thank you so much.
Support the dogs. Support the dogs.
Support the doggo, especially this clumsy.
Support the doggo. I fucking love this. This is great.
She's such a klutz. It's like hilarious. And I have all like hardwood floors, so she just slides over everything and just makes a ruckus of
Love
everything.
dogs.
Artie coming in. It's funny because my other dog's name is RT, so I call RT. She's just gonna have to deal with that. But thank you, Artie, for the doggo and getting her own new membership. Welcome to the club again. Texas says Jeff's popped in for a sec. Saw dog surgery fun. So sorry. Hope this helps and hope your doggy recovers fast and it goes smoothly. Yes, I will be running this grift all month. Okay, just so you all know, it's very expensive. Doobie says with a big 10, Tyler did a great job demonstrating he is exactly what Prime said he is when he admitted to using dishonest anti-Semitism claims as a debate tactic, debunked by his own sources repeatedly. And I'll hand this over to you, Tyler, if you want to respond.
We've already been through this. I made multiple claims. I linked 8 sources, and one was used to try to find all the claims I made. I'm pretty sure if you
I went through 3 of those sources.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure everything I said there is backed up.
Yeah, so but they weren't. You can go through those sources and prove that they are.
This. My documents posted.
You post links, but
well, it was pretty easy to go through it. Just Control F my way through. I mean, I think I grabbed the right stuff. I may not have, but I was just looking for BBC.
Sarah, it's not your job to do that. When you make a claim and you say, "Oh, you have a source," fair enough, right?
What I'm saying is for you. I mean, Tyler, you could have directed him, pretty easily because you could have controlled F and then found him. But either way,
but it's a derailment tactic, like asking a pop.
It's either way, gentlemen. The information is available. Nobody's being bad faith. It's you might just have to go on a hunt.
Bad faith.
I would have just. The thing is, like, these guys have accused us multiple times of anti-Semitism when neither myself or Prime said anything anti-Semitic. We just simply pointed out like the horrible things that the Israeli government has done. Essentially, I mean, I'm just saying
it derails people. I never said it to you. I was alluding to it for Prime. I didn't want to outright say it because I don't believe it. It was a debate tactic. Don't take that personally.
I don't take it personally. But anyway, go ahead.
And Old School says Prime case is wrong. Less than half of Israel supporting evangelicals support Israel because they believe it will result in Jesus's return. Ooh, hallelujah.
Wrong. Less than half of Israel supporting evangelicals support Israel because they believe. Well, that's okay if it doesn't matter if it's less than half. I'm saying that is one of their driving. I don't know the exact numbers. Let's say this individual is correct. Thank you for giving $5 to Sarah, right? So it is a major driving force. Like whatever. I didn't say it was the only reason, right? Evangelicals are part of the imperialist nation of the United States, right? And evangelicals see the advantages that Gibbs sees in supporting Israel, right? A lot of them have the same reason. Evangelicals aren't just one thing. They aren't just a religion, right? So they see the money that is there to be made, right? They see the resources there to be pillaged within the Middle East, right? So those might be other reasons why they support, not just mindlessly because of their religion, but some of them mindlessly because of their religion.
All right. And Anthony sends not 10, not 20, but 30 to say for the goal. Thank you so much for finishing that off for us. And Kokomo gifts out 5 Raging Tomato memberships.
Nice.
Because Kokomo promised if we finish the dono goal, they would gift membership. So thank you. And here is where we bring the thing back from earlier. Doobie says, Tyler is lying again. I didn't say the video was fake. I said it didn't show Hamas stealing aid or firing at civilians, which is what Tyler claimed it showed. It was a
video of an Israel-funded gang. Yeah. Which is exactly what our friends like Alex said, right? Which exactly is one of his Tyler's sources says exactly that, right? I literally quoted. I can read it to you again. Don't worry, I will read it to you again because I'm just so giving, right? So in February, Times of Israel, in February, the U.S. diplomat who was then involved in humanitarian assistance for Gaza denied allegations that Hamas stole aid and commercial shipments into the enclave, saying that no Israeli official had presented him or the Biden administration with specific evidence of. Actually, this is in the BBC one. This is the other one. Sorry, Jonathan. This is another one. Sorry, Jonathan Whitall, the head of the UN's humanitarian office for the occupied Palestinian territories, also said there was no evidence that Hamas was diverting aid coordinated through credible humanitarian channels. He said the real theft of relief goods since the beginning of the war had been carried out by criminal gangs, which the Israeli army, quote unquote, allowed to operate in proximity to the Karem Shalom crossing point in Gaza, end quote. Yeah, that was in his sources.
Okay. And last one, and then we'll move into open panel. Anthony says, I know they said they delivered pamphlets for the kids and family, but wouldn't that give time for Hamas to evacuate and beat the whole purpose of what they're doing?
Yeah, I kind of alluded to that earlier with what they call like the door knock, where they'll drop the big stone or big like dud bomb on the thing or blow it up above the
You
apartment
mean
building. To let these people...
the first tap, like the
tap,
roof
the
knockers
double
or
tap,
something? Yeah.
So like
Double
I
tap is
alluded,
something slightly different, but I understand what you're saying.
yeah. I mean, I might have made a misspoke with the exact term. You know, I am not actually still in Valor. My name is not because I was in the military. For the record, it was. I always think this is funny because it's a Star Wars reference, but and it's from like when I was 2014. When I was not 2014, when I was 14, and I made the name. But what I do know is that Israel does seem to have a kind of like restrained system, and in this case, what they do is they know Hamas is going to get out probably, but they destroy the infrastructure in order to punish Hamas and deny them from being able to use it in the future. And it's better to let the civilians go. But that's just being a proof of them being a moral actor and a moral, conscious defender of their people against an evil terrorist organization backed by the king of the axis of evil, or the religious prophet of the axis of evil. That'd be Iran.
So Gibbs, I want to ask you a question. Was Hind Rajab a member of Hamas?
I mean, I think they were the same group as both of us.
Both of these nuts? Yeah, nice try. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, I asked you.
Got it.
Yeah, you got it too. Okay, so anyways, like you're not gonna get past this. Okay, so I asked you a very specific question. Was she a member of Hamas?
Who? I mean, I don't know this person. I'm not familiar with.
I made it my own scene. Were you not fucking listening?
Yeah, I mean, I did listen, but that's been 2.5 hours ago. So
okay,
I mean,
she was a 5-year-old girl. Okay, sir, she was a 5-year-old girl. Her family was escaping from an area that Israel told them to escape to, and then Israel opened fire and they destroyed her entire car. She called emergency services, and then they came towards the car, and then they ended up killing her. I mean, was she a member of Hamas?
Yeah, I mean, this is the same kind of problem I have right here. Like when you're doing this,
okay.
Hold on. Yeah, whatever. What about the 17-year-old girl? What about the 17-year-old girl who was raped to death and walked around all of the city, Gaza City, and these people? Oh, you don't support it, and you don't understand why they would go to war. Guess what? Sometimes children die in war. It's a sad case, but if I was attacked unprovoked and had my, people, some of my children killed while they're at a festival, guess what? I'm sorry. I'm not going to say
combat scenario.
Cool. I'm not. Yeah, but sure. I think we can all empathize with you. If you go to war, casualties happen.
That's the difference between you and me, because I've actually been in a similar scenario.
Yeah,
and you haven't. The thing is,
so you're saying civilian casualties don't happen?
No.
Oh, so they do happen.
No,
we're arguing about justification for a war.
Shut the fuck up. Okay, shut the fuck up. Seriously. Okay, at no point was Hind Rajab or her family a threat to anybody, but yet Israel still opened fire.
No, what point was those people at that festival a threat to anybody? No, were the people at the festival a threat to somebody? No, who were they? Were the people at the festival a threat to anybody?
Shh, sweetheart, it's okay.
Okay, sweetheart. Okay, sweetheart. Oh, yeah, you just look broody doing that. Okay, nobody's buying your tough man act. Okay, you keep trying. You just
listen,
look gay.
you're the one wearing the purple suit. What are you talking about? So
I mean, I know, and I'm still twice as manly as you are. That's crazy. But the point I'm making is,
twice the size of me. That doesn't make you twice as manly.
Hey, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, it does. I can lift more. I can fuck more.
Okay, you freeze twice as much as I do too. So honestly, anyway, as I was saying,
Jesus Christ.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, get nailed across. Anyway, get owned, bitch. Okay. Anyway,
as I was saying, the only thing you're owning is your pathetic cakes, and they're sad. They're pathetic. Bro, you're so derailed that you're talking about my weight. You're not even able to make a point. What's crazy is you just admitted that civilian casualties happen, and then you don't care about these poor children that were attacked at this festival. It's crazy. It's crazy. One's bad, the other's good. This is why I said you were anti-Semitic, because you don't care about those poor Jews.
Oh, anti-Semitism, right?
Yeah, that's what you're exhibiting. You only care about one side.
We're gonna make an anti-Semitic argument.
Well, listen. You're doing the Richard Spitzer thing, where you hide behind the words and you actually don't want to say it with shit. That's what's crazy.
Straw man fucking argument.
I mean, you're only over here crying about one child, but you don't give two fucks about that 17-year-old girl that was raped to death. Oh, well, cool. And then you can't explain why a country would want to go to war when something like that happened on their turf. Crazy, so bad. Yeah, listen, quit with your fake morality. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Just go play the Wolf Small Silent.
That's actually real size right there, the violin.
Can I jump in?
Everybody ready to put their dicks away?
I wanted to just answer the super chat.
My dick's too big to be put
okay.
away.
Yeah,
I
put
will
away,
endeavor.
Sarah. It's
I'll
put
try.
away, Sarah.
Israel just doesn't do no-knock bombs and pamphlets, but they also sometimes call the owners of the homes, and they've released dozens of tapes where they call somebody that owns the building that they're going to bomb maybe a week down the road, and they say, bomb us, we're ready to die for Allah. The reason that they have these is because Iran has a martyr fund. They pay hundreds of millions of dollars every year to families who lose somebody for the cause, usually for a PR pushing that we're being genocided. They'll pay that family off. So you have incentive to go and die unarmed for the cause.
Oh my God.
It's already been investigated. Martyr funds exist. How much you guys didn't know tonight, you should really be a little bit more.
Okay, but first things first, I brought up Hind Rajab for a very specific reason, because they were actually escaping from a region that like Israel's getting ready to bomb, and then they were shot to pieces. Like there was 300 bullets that went into their car. And then the fact that like this 5-year-old girl that Gibbs doesn't seem to give a flying fuck about, she was calling saying, oh my God, the Israeli military and the tanks are coming towards us. And they shot that car full of more fucking holes, but Gibbs doesn't give a shit because, oh my God, I'm gonna tie my little fucking heartstrings and pretend to give a shit about other fucking people. Essentially,
I haven't made that argument. Once again, you're putting words in my mouth and you're lying.
I'm putting
once again. Yes, sir, you are. Yeah, you are absolutely. I am going to respond to this. You're
hold on.
Words in my mouth. I never once made a moralistic argument. Secondly, why would anybody take your version of the truth when right here on this panel I called you out for lying about what I was saying, and Prime, your own partner, has admitted that I was taking the stance that I had the whole time about Ukraine. You just literally make shit up to win an argument, which is sad because you're literally lying about me, and now you're sitting here lying about the story. I don't know. You're even lying about casualties happening. You're just dishonest and you're being bad faith.
Okay, you can actually.
We literally have evidence in this panel where you lied about my stance, and now you're lying about my stance again.
Sweetheart.
Because you can't.
Plus-size gentleman with
stop lying about what my stances are, because you can't actually beat something on the principles and the grounds of the actual subject. I mean, that's cool.
In order to grow the fuck out, okay?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Then yeah.
All right, that was fun, but we did have to move on. All right, so everyone who is new, there are some new people backstage, I believe. So don't worry, you will find your time up on screen because people get booted here very, very, very fast. And I will leave it to the chat to do so. For a measly $10, you can boot anyone on the bottom half of the panel, any of the 4 original panelists, including Prime, Alex, Tyler, and Gibbs.
I'm safe!
They are safe. They are. They have immunity up here on this panel as of this evening, so you can't boot them. They can be up here and Spurg all night long. You can put them in a speed date though, so they're not far away from crazy stuff. But once somebody gets booted from the panel, somebody else in line backstage comes up. And if you really, 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 really want someone up on screen, you have to boot someone, and that's fair game too. Or if you are sitting backstage and you really, really, really want on screen, you can pay $10 and go ahead and take your place. All right. Everyone knows my rules here. Keep your interruptions to a minimum. If you're all screaming over each other, I will put you in an embarrassing speed date with sexy, sensual music and make you very, very, very uncomfortable. And the crowd absolutely loves it. Outside of that, I am going to go ahead and kick off the gauntlet. So be prepared. We'll start moving over there shortly. Kay, why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
Hi. I don't exactly have anything off the top of my head to kick us off with.
All right.
You look great today, Kay.
Thank you.
You look lovely, Kay.
Yeah, Kay. Do you want to talk about the bravery of somebody that fell out of the ugly tree and got hit by a bag of dicks for looks, talking about other people's appearances? Can we talk about that for a second? I think that one's really impressive.
I'd rather talk to you, Gibbs, about something.
All right.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about dicks at all.
So here we go.
I wouldn't either. That's why I guess we're not talking Dallas.
Yeah.
Right,
So just a quick
Yay!
for the affirmative side, there's a little note for you guys that I didn't hear brought up. Just really quick, we give Israel $3.8 billion, but it's far more fucked than that because they actually put it in treasuries. So we actually paid them interest on this. It's not really aid so much as it's taxpayer funded loan to ourselves at a loss. But anyway, going back to you, Gibbs, you and Tyler both mentioned Christians have an obligation to support Israel. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would argue that there's a substantial amount of text biblically that would argue that. Yeah, God.
Okay. So I have
those are chosen people, and that we should ally ourselves with them as Christians.
Yeah. I'm familiar with that. Okay. So just want to get the confirmation. I have a very good reason for why Christian Americans should actually cut ties with Israel. Israel has what's called the Temple Institute. It's heavily funded by Israel state. One of the prime directives of the Temple Institute is to rebuild a third temple. Okay. When this happens, they're going to name their Messiah. By definition, when they do this, this person will be Antichrist. Maybe not the Antichrist, but Antichrist in nature. So why should Christians support a Zionist state that's going to name the Antichrist?
What?
I mean, I'm a little. Okay, wait, just rephrase.
I know it's a lot. I know you never heard this before. You've never been challenged on this, but please try to keep up.
It's not that. I'm just trying to like figure out. Are you arguing? No, this is hilarious. We got two doctors of religion, but I have
stop obfuscating and answer the question, please.
Oh, listen, hold on, Papa. You asked me a question. I'm gonna answer however goddamn well. Please.
Get there.
Secondly, listen.
Elmer Fudd up there.
Yeah, I know. It's very Elmer Fudd.
I can even tell you why you believe.
I love
this,
how when I get asked questions and I can't even answer them. That's the crazy part. But
no, you just can't answer. That's it.
No, here's the argument. I guess I'm asking just for clarification. Are you asking if they're going to make? You're just saying they're going to make a Antichrist or like not necessarily the Antichrist. Like you're arguing
they're going to name their Messiah. By definition, they reject Jesus Christ as the Messiah. So by definition, it will be the Antichrist. Why should Christians?
Yeah, that would be arguably something that in Revelations would come true. Whenever he rides a little swine into the temple and all this other shit.
You're not answering the question. This is a great observation, but you're not answering the question.
I mean, are you arguing that every Israeli that lives in Israel is somehow
I'll give you
Temple Institute?
What do you think the percentage is?
Like, hold on. Do you think every American is working in Bohemian Grove with the people that?
Yeah, great obfuscation.
No, it's a good question because that's kind of what you're doing.
No, yeah, you've been doing this all night. Just what about?
I mean, no. You just compared the entire country of Israel because they have a group called the Temple Institute. Yeah, the Temple Institute. You're saying all of those people, all of Israel, because you have
they're
some
funded
people
by the state of Israel.
Yeah, they're cool. They're funded. They're a group of people funded by the state of Israel. We have thousands of programs here in the United States funded by the government. Some of them we like.
That's great. Whataboutism.
Hold on. No. This is equivalency. I know that's confusing for someone that's
it's whataboutism. It's whataboutism.
Debate, but hold on.
Whataboutism. No one's nailed you to whataboutism the whole debate.
Cool, that's fine. You can talk about whataboutism you want. It's clear you don't understand it.
So okay, great. You can't explain. I'll
actually explain
to you. I'll actually explain to you why you believe.
No, I don't need you to explain.
I'll explain why you believe this because you don't understand. You don't understand church history. You don't understand Christians.
Question. So the equivalent here thing is we have NGOs, we have all these different things that are funded by the U.S. government, right? We have different organizations. They're funded. It's simple, right? So we can have an organization say, like, I don't know.
That's great. Whataboutism. You're not answering the question.
Let me finish. Jesus Christ.
Are you going to land the plane here?
I am. I would if you just would stop interrupting. I know you have the attention span of a goldfish, but
no, you're not answering the question.
I'm sitting here saying, hey, are you? Oh no. Let me explain why you're so stupid. Okay, let me just explain.
I'm stupid now. Yeah,
it is. You are stupid because
I'm stupid. You can't answer the question.
A false currency. So
I'm stupid. You can't answer the question.
A government like the United States is funding an organization.
I'll go ahead and filibuster.
I'm going to finish my sentence. It's funding an organization which, like, say, oh, I don't know, put a trans in a library. Would you say, oh, everybody in the United States is now supporting?
I didn't say that.
I know you're not saying that.
Say that
because that is what you're saying with the equivalent.
No, I didn't.
That's not what about it.
Tell me my question back to me. Tell me my question back to me.
They're funding the
you don't know, do you? You don't know it.
Hold on.
Tell me my question back to me.
Funding the Trans Institute.
Tell me my question back to me.
You don't know what the fuck you're talking about, do you? Finish my point is a bad debate. Everybody sees through it. So if I fund an organization,
everybody sees how much of a joke you are, and you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and you do whataboutism and obfuscation and try to win some kind of debate, and it's clearly not working. You look like an idiot.
That it somehow represents. No, you look like an idiot because you're sitting here trying to say whataboutism when I'm explaining basic, simple governmental process. If a government can fund a private organization or a public organization, that doesn't reflect the views of the government necessarily. For example, there are organizations right now in the United States
It's still
that are funded by
Great
the U.S. government.
Great
Hold on.
Great
Doge is literally designed to get rid of organizations that one side doesn't like. No, it's listen.
Your blood pressure is going to get up, man. You got to calm down.
My blood pressure's fine. I'm low. It's good. Fantastic. Thanks.
Yeah, I highly doubt that.
But here's the best part about this: is once again, you keep saying what about it? But if the government right now, we have Doge going in there and gutting organizations.
What the hell does this have to do with my question?
I'm trying to explain it. Gutting organizations that they don't agree.
You're going
with,
on a tirade about something that's not even related to what we're talking
I will listen. We'll follow. I know this is a complex thought process for you. So we have one right here in the U.S. We have organizations funded by the government that we don't necessarily
U.S. has organizations.
agree with.
Great.
Cool. Okay. Cool. And do you agree? So since we have Doge, I think it would be pretty obvious that not every organization is one that all the people want funded. One half put Trump in there to get rid of those funded. Okay. Cool. Now let's look at Israel. Israel has an organization, the Temple Institute, and you're arguing that because they have this organization, somehow we should not support Israel because one organization funded by their government is somehow trying to put forth the Antichrist.
It's a Christian
whenever
interest.
There's hundreds and hundreds of other organizations.
Christian interest.
And those are fine. And they're fine.
Are you done?
Don't have a problem with that. No,
Can I have a turn?
It's really
Can I have a turn?
stupid. It's really
Can I have a turn? You done?
I'm
You done?
do you understand why this is
Can I have a turn now that you're done?
Yeah.
Done?
Do you understand why this is not a what about?
No, I'm not. You're just what about is about.
Oh, so okay, you don't understand.
Yeah, you're just a bunch of nonsense. You
called
named a bunch of U.S. NGOs, and it has nothing to do with my question. It has nothing to do with my questions.
It's good.
Okay, so here we go. Now I'll tell you exactly why you and many people believe that this, we should support Israel, Christians. It's the evangelical crowd. Okay. The reason they believe this is because there's a guy named John Darper came over to the U.S. in the early 20th century, and he broke away from the Church of England, and he decided to bring a new framework called dispensationalism. This infected the evangelical crowd, and it basically taught them that there's a such thing as magic Jew blood. This was never believed. It's a heresy. It was never believed by any Christians before that. Most Christians worldwide don't believe this. They recognize it as a heresy. The Catholics don't believe this. The Orthodox don't believe this. No one believes this outside the evangelicals, and they're the ones that believe this. And they actually work with the Temple Institute. And the reason they work with the Temple Institute is because they believe on their side that, yes, once the third temple is rebuilt, Armageddon will come. So that's a great. Oh, and by the way, these people have fucking
and here's the craziest part. I also know the guy down here in Texas that sold the red heifers to him, bro.
Yeah, what does it have anything to do with what I said?
Just crackpot.
You don't know church history, sir. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. No, you don't. You clearly don't. You clearly, well, then you clearly need to go get a refund.
You know what else
from
was
wherever
crazy?
you got them from.
You know what else
is
crazy, Papa?
You don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Let me tell you something. What else is crazy? This guy right here, sitting here, got all that rant talking about, and his biggest quote was "magic Jew blood," and he's talking about me, talking about what about is talking about somebody from the 1920s.
That's what it is, right?
It's crazy.
That's what it is. They're the
magic
chosen
Jew
people. Somehow they're chosen people. They're somehow the chosen people still, even though only a small vocal minority believes this in the
I should have
U.S.
just let you speak because you sound fucking insane.
Because you're getting cooked and you realize you can't.
Nobody got. The only person that got cooked here was our.
Don't ever bring this shit up again because there's gonna be somebody out like me out there that actually knows church history and is gonna nail your ass to the wall like I just did.
Yeah, I mean the only person that got nailed in the whole was your credibility.
Can I take a crack at the question as well because it was both of us here?
Go ahead.
Can I ask a question?
Let me take a
I want to hear what Tyler. I want to hear him explain.
Well, I'm an atheist. I'm still learning. I'm doing a lot to learn religion. I do a panel on Sundays for it. So, don't make fun of me if I say something a little stupid.
That's fine.
It's not my area of expertise.
No, you've been more cordial than the buffoon over here. So go ahead.
So, what I'm reading here is that the Jewish Messiah, the Jews don't see the Messiah as a holy figure. They just
see him as a political figure.
Yeah, as a peaceful figure that's just going to come and reunite it. So, in essence, the way you're using Antichrist means it's something antithetical. It's not antithetical to Christ. It's more just different.
No. They reject. Okay, so here's the thing. They reject Jesus as as Messiah.
There's only a dead end down this road, buddy.
When they Satan, though, isn't it?
Say again.
Effigy is right.
Antichrist is supposed to be Satan, and the Jews would not.
No. There's many antichrists.
There's
many
antichrists.
That's one thing he's right about.
I'm pigeonholing the definition of Antichrist.
That's why when I said it, I didn't say he wouldn't be the Antichrist. He would be Antichrist in spirit, by definition.
That was the only
Your partner Gibbs doesn't know much about the actual.
No, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Don't
He just says
him
shit
down that road.
Yes, these guys definitely know much more.
And he just got fucking cooked, and he had to do whataboutisms and obfuscate to try to come up with some other. Refute it. Refute it. Instead of obfuscating, refute it.
I don't think I need to refute.
Oh, you don't need to. Yeah. Okay. Shut the fuck up.
I think that speaks for itself.
Tyler, what?
Pardon me, gentlemen. I'm going to take a moment because when you all start talking over each other, I start talking money. And Alex, who is one of our prime panelists this evening, sends the big 20 just to say thank you again, Sarah, for this debate. Yeah, Alex came to me with this prompt, and I was more than happy to oblige. So thank
Sarah,
you.
I would love to be on this prompt.
and
Thank
you for everyone who it took a little search and find to find someone, or to piece together the panel. But
oh man, I wish I'd have known that. Oh,
Gibbs was a really good helper on this for sure. And just as a reminder, top dollars backstage. So is Silver Eagle, Reverend Russ, Zers, Ed Doobie, and now Jason. So if you want to see, did somebody no? So if you want to see any of them up on screen, you know what you have to do. Also, I will be shutting down the Tomato in 2 minutes. So if you're watching over on the Tomato side, I'll be dropping the link to move over to the Gauntlet. You can continue watching Open Panel Dumpster Fire over there. And outside of that, I leave the floor open.
Tyler,
Alex, I have to thank you. You gave us Antichrist and Magic Jew Blood.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I did so what?
Funny. No. That was Mo.
Ask you a question about some
no, I know that, but he created.
Tyler did get his answer though in the back chat.
He made the prompt. He made the prompt that brought us to this moment. That's what.
I got you.
Oh, okay, that's fair. Yeah.
That's fair.
He made the dumbass statement. Yeah, you're right.
Apparently, I'm gone.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Doobie. I would have loved to. I would have loved to have been up here with Doobie. But, oh well.
I'm here for you. What you got for me?
Hey, Gibbs, let me ask you a question about a whole bunch of dumbass shit you said during this debate, bro.
Let's hear it.
Did you know that is multiple videos of Jewish people? Because they're not the Jews. And if you read the Bible, the Bible or the Quran, it tells you this specifically, multiple places. But I'm going to just give you a pass on that because I ain't here to talk religion doctrine, right? Okay. Did you know that there is massive videos of them spitting on Christians? I know you didn't know that.
I've been spitting on Christians. Yeah, I've seen videos of all sorts of people spitting on all sorts of people. Most of them are in Pornhub, but that's neither here nor there.
Listen, so he hasn't seen it.
And I'm officially shutting down the Tomato side now. Catch the raid over to the Gauntlet or click the link I've dropped in the chat.